Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados, live here on Think Critical YouTube. I'm doing all right. I did live through the surgery. Obviously, I've made it back, healing up a little bit, but we're still here to talk about all your geeky stuff here every Saturday. And obviously, it's a... So, Sully, you're saying I'm supposed to celebrate St. Paddy's Day the entire weekend?
Yes, I would. I do. I have been.
Like National Irish Month? I don't get it.
Oh, well, no, it's because St. Patty's Day is on Monday, the 17th, and so here in Boston, we take our Irish pride very seriously, and to the point of cultural appropriation.
Appropriating.
The Irish, kiss me, I'm Irish.
Yeah, but you're Irish.
Well, yes, I am. Well, I'm a Yank, but I'm Irish,
Well, yes, culture. I'm also a Yank, but I'm also Irish.
Correct, yes. And, but it's, hey, have fun this weekend. Be safe. It's actually like amateur night around here. Seriously. Oh, I'm going to drink one of your Guinnesses. Oh, this is awful. Like, no, it's not. It's an acquired taste there, you sissy. Shut up and drink your beer. It's delicious. It's supposed to be warm.
I went to the Guinness factory in Dublin and drank it fresh, and it still sucked.
Oh, man. It's an
Who wants to drink oil instead of actual beer?
It's not a real beer if I could see through it.
Well, I'm not saying like there's anything wrong with darks. It's just, I don't know, something wrong with Guinness. Whatever. I don't have to have this conversation again, but we're going to have a good time. What are you going to have as your official Irish St. Paddy's Day meal, Sully?
I had it last night, the traditional boiled dinner.
It's not.
I had it at the Irish bar.
You're not going to make yourself a corned beef and cabbage or something?
I had it. That's the pleasure of being a professional chef, having other people cook for you, because you're good. I do it all day at work. So I had my corned beef and cabbage last night, some wonderful boiled potatoes, and just saturated in butter and a couple of pints of Guinness. And, I'm going to call it a weekend. I stay in on St. Paddy's Day. It literally is amateur night out there in Boston or Chicago or
What are you talking about, stabbings?
I'm from South Boston, Massachusetts, the notorious South Boston. And we have a St. Patrick's Day parade every year. And it's a horror show. I mean, it's gotten quite tame over the years. But I mean, it was like about public urination, public fighting, public drunkenness, what are they? Good old fashioned baccalaureate,
It's a bunch of idiots that can't handle their booze.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How dare you say that about the Irish?
No, I'm talking about the people
We're genetically engineered to handle our booze.
I'm talking about the people that that come out on St. Paddy's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. All those damn Southies.
Dude, let me tell you, it's a great metaphor for our fandom. See, like our little town, and we open it up to normies or tourists, and they come in and they completely trash the place. And then when they leave, we're left with broken fences, poo and pee on our lawns, and broken bottles, and violated, daughters and everything, man. Oh,
it's just horrible. Sounds like San Francisco, dude.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
That's violated sons.
Oh, gosh.
It's a Wednesday on San Francisco, dude.
Yeah. So, but when the tourists leave, I mean, here we have our broken kind of community. Like, just like, oh, well, let's fix it. You know what I mean? So think of it that way. One day the normies will leave our sacred space of fandoms, and we'll just
never going to leave St. Paddy's Day alone, because it's a reason to drink.
Mm-hmm. And to wear green and to, have a good old time. So be safe out there, drink responsibly, eat plenty, and don't kiss any women named Sheila with sores on their lips. Trust me on that one.
Very nice. So I think most people know I had my gallbladder removed this past week, and the surgery is a success. Obviously, I'm kind of back here getting things sped back up and everything, but I've already kind of messed myself up multiple times. So as I was walking out of the hospital, I've got like 4 holes in me, essentially my abdomen, where they took it out, my belly button. And I had like this thing in my wrist. And I tried to pull it off, and I ended up punching myself in the stomach as I was leaving the hospital. So that wasn't very smart. And then I went to get a haircut, and I asked for like my beard to be trimmed. And the guy, like, as soon as he's done with my haircut, he like hits this lever, and I just like smack backwards, and just like stretched out my stomach real quick, unexpectedly. He didn't tell me. So that hurt. So I've been a bigger danger to myself than anything, I guess.
You're like, you might as well be Jim at this point.
Sounds like Jim.
Yeah, Jim's fucked up.
So,
he
Wes,
got
how
hit
did
by a truck, I think.
A UPS truck.
A UPS
I
truck.
thought it was FedEx.
Special delivery coming right up. He split his lip and lost some teeth. I'm not making that up. That's an actual. He sent us a picture of his. We were supposed to record a show, and I was like, "Dude, you're missing some chiclets there, kid. You're gonna be like, your delivery's gonna be off." No pun.
There used to be a hockey podcast called Spittin' Chicklets. I wonder he should steal it.
He'll write.
I feel so bad for Jim. I don't know, like, how does it happen to him? I've never met somebody that's this unlucky. Do you think he just hasn't been wearing green on St. Patty's Day? He doesn't have the
Philadelphia.
He's not wearing enough. Yeah, there you go.
Phil-
See, I'm wearing green. Like, why aren't you guys? Look.
Philadelphia. That's
what it is.
Yep.
I don't know, man, but definitely keep Jim in your thoughts and prayers. He needs it more than I do, and I literally had an organ removed, and I'm in better shape.
Yeah, we need to pray for like protection around Jim, like like a force field almost, because
I'm considering adopting him. Just going to the state and saying I'd like to take legal custody of the man.
No, you don't want to bring his juju into your house. Like he needs a young priest and an old priest. You've got to just like exercise the air around him, because he just has the worst. I don't want to say luck, but just the worst fortune.
I guarantee that man got cursed by some girl back in college, back in when he was at WVU, and like some fucking Appalachian witch he pissed off at some point. He's been living with a fucking curse ever since.
Do we know Jim has Jim ever accidentally run over an old gypsy woman? And then like somebody just came up to him and went, "Clumsy." The rest of his life, he's falling off of ladders. He's getting hit.
Well, it doesn't sound like he was clumsy. It sounds like he was just riding his bike and someone hit him.
Oh, maybe he lost control and he swerved into their path. I mean, we don't know the whole story.
Victim blaming now.
Yeah, checking out that girl walking by, and you're like, "Oh,
bad." Sounds
he just
like
started thinking.
Messed up.
He started thinking about Ultimates 10 and just drove into the UPS truck intentionally.
Maybe Marvel 2099 Future Flares saying that he's got an infection. Well, I hope you're doing all right too, buddy.
Oh man,
we're all fucked up now.
Damn.
And definitely keep Peter David in your thoughts and prayers. We know he had some strokes and stuff. He's been hospitalized for quite some time. Apparently, like, he doesn't have insurance anymore. His Medicaid run out. So there's a GoFundMe up there, which I definitely encourage everyone to go and find and see if you can support him. I just retweeted it on my Twitter. Are we allowed to still call it Twitter?
Yes. X is cringe.
I do.
Twitter.
I do all the time.
I only call it X I only call it X when I type it out because it's shorter.
Oh,
I still type Twitter.
On my Twitter, I just reposted a link to where you can go help out Peter David. Obviously, he's a comic book legend, and hate to see what's going on with him. It's just terrible. But yeah, Kalichi Oki's not calling an X either. I don't get it. So we got Max's Man Cave. Is it MVP? Are you the Comic Crusader? You've rebranded on me. How many times?
I did. I had to rebrand after the demonetization. I felt like that was just the natural thing to do and the right thing to do. So yeah, you guys can find me at the Comic Crusader. I like the name just because it with a crusade, you can crusade for something, but you can also crusade against something, right? Like you can crusade against the injustice that's being done in the comic book industry for our, classic heroes, but we can also crusade for like epic stories that have already been told and the legends that have, created some of our favorite stories and heroes of all time. So I was like, I think that's a fair thing to crusade for. So I like the moniker a little bit, but yeah, so I changed the name. But Wes, I was going to ask how did you know about the gallbladder? Did something happen? Like, because I'm glad to hear that you're okay, but man, that's scary stuff.
So I've had like stomach issues for like, I don't know, 8 years where it bothered me and stuff. But I was like, I just got a bad stomach.
Sure.
But then I thought I had a hernia. So they sent me to get an ultrasound for the hernia. It turned out I didn't have a hernia. It was something else. But during the ultrasound, they're like, oh, wow, that's an enormous gallstone you have there.
Oh, my gosh.
I was like, that's why my stomach's felt weird for 8 years. They're like, no, this thing is enormous. It was almost like the size of a penny.
Oh
my gosh.
Wow. I sent a picture to Aaron. I was going to send it to all of you guys, but Aaron's reaction made me think that I shouldn't send it to everybody.
Hey, if Aaron has to see it, we have to see it.
Yes.
Them's the rules.
That's the case, yeah. If Jim can send his split lip, yeah.
Looked like it was slathered in teriyaki.
Yeah, and he won't stop calling me delicious now. And I was like, I don't know if you call me delicious.
That's going to be our new show on YouTube, Vicious and Delicious.
Yeah, so that's how I felt. So I've had this problem for a long time, and I'm feeling much better, and I can already tell the difference. And I can, once everything gets healed up, I'll be in much better shape. So thankfully they did fight it. I would have hated to have gone another 10 years of ignoring it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But I would have done it because I'm Irish and I'm stupid.
Well, I think too, like when you're in the military, you tend to see pain or think of pain in a different way. Like something will hurt and you'll just be like, yeah, that's just natural, or that just happens, right? You never think that it's actually something that could be potentially dangerous. You're just like, oh yeah, my knees hurt because of course they do. Why wouldn't they? And you just go throughout life that way.
So how's everything with the channel? So you got the demonetization thing. It's happened months ago now. You've rebranded. Are you about to come back better than ever?
I hope so, man. It's been really fun to do my live stream, which is Comic Shop Conversations on Friday nights. And the plan is I have to meet a certain amount of hours of watch time before I can submit for remonetization. So for context, 3 months ago, I was demonetized for what YouTube deemed was reused content. I'm assuming that it was my reviews of X-Men, the animated series, and Batman, the animated series, because you use a lot of clips that, over and over. The algorithm will see that and think, hey, this guy's just posting episodes, right? So I took all that down, rebranded, and I'm going to come back and hopefully get about 2,000 more hours I need of watch hours. And at that point, I can resubmit for monetization and get the memberships back. And it'll be a great opportunity for me to come back. But I'm just grateful for everyone who's stuck with me during this time, as like I've been rebranding and doing a full-time job, but also doing the live streams and having fun with the chat. So I appreciate everyone being patient and still hanging out and enjoying the show.
Are you still doing the Warhammer 40K stuff?
I have the Warhammer channel. It's called Brother Maximus. One of the top videos on the channel, I think, has almost over 10,000 views right now, which is really good. And it was my reaction to the Secret Level episode on Amazon Prime. And I'm hesitant about all that stuff. I hate all that, like, oh, we're going to make it more mainstream. But sure enough, that episode was really true to the universe. And so I enjoyed it. So, but yeah, so doing some Warhammer stuff over there, which has been a blast.
Very nice. If you would like to support Max, there is a link in the video description to the Comic Crusader YouTube channel. And let's see if we can get those watch time hours up and get him monetized again.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Very nice. Glad to have you back. We've also got Dylan, the real comic book gamer, who's also the really real MMA expert. And you must be still in mourning. Alex Pereira, everyone's favorite fighter, goes out not on his shield, just not really going for it. What happened there?
It was kind of his fault because Magomed didn't take him down. He kind of just stalled him, and then Pereira didn't really do much output, so it was his own fault. Everyone had been saying that he wasn't taking this camp seriously because you see everything leading up to this, he's doing everything but training, so kind of saw what was going to happen there. It was just a disappointing fight, but I like Alex Pereira. He's super entertaining, but he's not my favorite fighter or anything, so I'm not super bummed about this, and I think there's plenty of guys that can beat Ankalaev, so not too worried.
Was it a Rocky 3 situation where you had the montage of like, his opponent working really hard like Clubber Lang, and meanwhile he's like signing autographs, eating ice cream, and taking pictures with people?
Something like that. Yeah, something similar to that.
He's not a young man, even though he's only been in the UFC for like 3 or 4 years. He's like 38.
Yep, and he's been kickboxing forever. That's the thing. He's got, who knows when that's going to fall off. But the good thing is he's in one of the worst divisions in the UFC, the second worst men's division in the UFC 205. That division sucks ass, so he can stay there for a good bit.
A long time, light heavyweight was the best division.
Oh, yeah, a while ago when you had Chuck Liddell and Rampage, but then it fell off a cliff. After John came out and cleared all those. Yeah, when John cleared all the old legends out, that's when it just sucked. That's when that division was terrible, because you had nothing, no one even close to John to challenge him.
So you're fine because Robert Whittaker didn't lose.
Well, that's my favorite fighter, but I'm waiting for him to have a fight announced. That's what I'm waiting for, to see who he's going to fight, because we have no idea.
It needs to be in Vegas so you can get your trip in. You knock some bucket lists out.
That would be cool. And he's also teased, because he's teased like having a whole new fighting style he's working on. So I'm interested to see how that goes, because he's like, I've been fighting the same way for like a decade. There's so much tape on me. He's like, I'm going to switch things up. It's like, oh, this could go horribly wrong.
Do you remember when BJ Penn changed his entire fighting style up around?
Yeah, but BJ
Penn fought on his tippy toes?
Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah, BJ Penn's also insane, though.
He was a great fighter, though.
He was great. Do you remember that video of way past prime done fighting PJ Penn where he got knocked out by like that fat Samoan? And then he got his get back though. He beat his ass afterwards though. Like, he got knocked out and he's all drunk, and then he went back and beat that guy's ass. That was hilarious.
Yeah, BJ was a freak of nature.
Yeah, now he's insane though.
He's white. There's levels.
Fair enough.
Anything going on with the Geek Sphere stuff? I know you got the podcast, you got the channel, you got the streaming. Anything people need to know about?
Yeah, I just did a video talking about the first 3 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. So I just discussed all that.
So I thought the first episode pretty strong, especially that opening action sequence. Really enjoyed it. Now that I'm getting to the 3rd episode, I really dislike what they're doing with Wilson Fisk. The courtroom drama stuff was kind of okay, but I don't really like what they did with the White Tiger, and I can already tell that I'm going to absolutely despise what they're doing with the Punisher-inspired police force.
Yes, so the Punisher stuff is very annoying because it's constantly done, and people act like this is something that reflects real life, where it's like, where is this? Like, you see cops doing stuff all the time in real life. They'll be like, reported dirty cop does whatever. They never have a Punisher anything. Like, the dudes that have Punisher in real life are like the cops that are handing out parking tickets and speeding tickets and stuff. You never see like the guys that are like shooting unarmed people having Punisher things. So I don't get that. Also, if you're a corrupt cop, why would you have a Punisher logo? That's just marking yourself for death. That makes no sense. Yeah. It makes no sense. You're asking to die. It's so stupid. I think that stuff's lazy. I disagree about the episode 1 fight scene. I think that was one of the worst parts about the show. I think that looked like dog shit. The CG doubles, the stupid smoke and haze so you can't see anything, the way it was shot, everything I thought looked horrible there. I thought the fight at the end of episode 2 was much better compared to one at the beginning of episode 1.
When he fights the 2 corrupt cops when he's not as Daredevil, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that one was good. I like the idea of the episode 1 fight, how like crazy it is and Bullseye showing up and causing havoc. I like that, but the execution of it, I thought looked awful.
So you're not the biggest fan of Born Again thus far?
It's okay. I would say it's very mid so far. We'll see. I hate the fact that we're 3 episodes into a 9-episode season and we've gotten like 5 minutes of Daredevil.
You know what? I hate the fact that the original plan that was supposedly scrapped because it wasn't very good is clearly what the season is.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. I also hate that Disney keeps doing that where they hire incompetent writers and then go, oh, wait, we got to change this. They did that with Kenobi. They had the entire show written, ready to shoot. And then Kathleen Kennedy finally read it and goes, oh, this is bad, and scrapped it. And then they had to redo the entire thing. Now they're doing
whatever Kathleen Kennedy found bad was better than what we got.
True.
I mean, it was probably like, this is too much about Luke. We need to make it about Leia.
True, but still, my point remains of why are you even hiring these people in the first place if you're just going to scrap their work? What's the point? Like, why are we hiring these people? Why are you letting them do all this and then being like, oh, wait, we got to scrap all this?
Because they wrote Rick and Morty. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. That's just Marvel. That's just Kevin Feige, who was so enamored with Rick and Morty that he hired everybody from that, not realizing that, oh no, they break everything down and mock everything and destroy all the sacred cows. So bring them into your universe and then be shocked when they disconnect everybody's connection to the characters.
Well, remember the guy who was going to write the Kang Saga movies wrote like late night episodes, and that's what he was known for.
So Dylan, do you think that how Frank is brought into the show, because we know that he's at least in, like, I think they said 2 or 3 episodes, but there have been news articles that have talked about how they're going to address his logo, right? And it's clear as day. You've got the cops with the tattoos on their neck or their wrist or whatnot. And then obviously at the end of episode 3, we get a big reveal. But how do you think he's going to be introduced? Do you think Matt is going to have to go to Frank? Cops. You think Frank is going to be killing the corrupt cops?
Yes,
or do you think
they're misusing his symbol?
Yeah, that's who did the thing at the end of episode 3. I am 100% sure that's not Frank. That's a corrupt cop pretending.
Oh, it's
Frank.
It's definitely not Frank. But I wonder if Matt is going to have to go to Frank and say, "I need your help to do something that I can't do," and that's kill. Right. And like cross that next level. I don't know how Frank is going to be brought into this, but I don't like how it's going. But I don't know. Do you kind of see how Frank is being introduced, or do you have an opinion on how he's going to be brought in?
Potentially, because we know from that trailer, like, he comes to Frank for something. So it's like, what's his whole maybe he's coming to Frank to be like, please don't slaughter these guys. Maybe I need some of them alive to, like, bring down the system. Or who knows? Because we know Frank's going to go and slaughter all these cops that are tarnishing his good name. We know that's going to happen. But
the problem is the logo is the best thing about Punisher. That's the most recognizable aspect about him. Even more recognizable than the name Frank Castle is the Punisher logo.
But
that's why I think Disney has to keep the logo, even though they hate the logo. I don't know. It's a nightmare. But yeah.
But what if
they painted themselves into a corner with this, like, activism stuff? I mean, you had a very popular money-making machine with that logo. That logo is on everything. I mean, and oh no, bad, you bad thinkers. Screw you.
Then we got the retarded hand version from Jason Aaron's run that looks so stupid. That logo is terrible.
It looks awful.
I did kind of like the White Tiger dude. Like, that character was pretty cool.
The actor was really good. I thought that guy was really great. Good. Yeah,
I was like,
he looked just like Tommy from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, though. His suit. That's all I thought of when he's there on the island. He's even got the medallion. Looked just like him.
The only thing that held up episode 3 were Charlie Cox's acting and the actor who played White Tiger. Rest in peace. But yeah, those two together, I mean, yeah, their acting chops were great, but it was really the only thing that you could say was like, oh, this is what makes the episode fairly good. But yeah.
There we go. We got a little taste of that. If you want all of Dylan's opinions, obviously he's got a video up right now talking about the first 3 episodes. Sparrow, you haven't watched the first 3 episodes. You're still refused to get Disney Plus? I don't play.
Well, a friend, I won't say who, gave me their Disney Plus password, and I spent a couple minutes trying to get into it on my TV, and it was like, go to this website and do this and blah blah blah. And I was like, like after about 3 minutes, I was like, I'm not interested enough in the show to bother jumping through all these hoops.
Hey, Aaron, I should probably just give you access to my Plex server, because then you just have my entire library. It's your own personal Netflix.
Oh, sweet! I would love that.
Well, why won't you do that for me, Doc?
I will do that for you if you want.
I would love that. I love watching movies and television.
Yeah.
Just there's no porn, right?
No, there's no porn.
Okay, I can't have my kids having access to the porn.
Yeah, no. It's like there's like, I don't know, 1,500 movies and about 300 seasons of TV on there.
Doc, I accidentally clicked on Backdoor Sluts 9, and it turned out it was a very sensitive documentary about...
You had a dinosaur thumbnail on that one. It really threw the 3-year-old off.
Very sensitive documentary about screen door installation.
Yep. And there's a whole documentary on cockroaches.
Yeah. But my 3-year-old Sparrow finally watched Jurassic Park, the movie, which is kind of scary. And he actually like handled it, but he loves dinosaurs so much
because it was dinosaurs. Yeah, it was like,
yes. So that was like a highlight of the week.
Did you
you
break
said
the
that he
hard
makes-
truth to him that there's not a single good other movie in the franchise after that?
Jurassic World is a pretty good remake of the original movie.
Jurassic World sucks.
In comparison to Jurassic Park, yes, but in comparison to all the other movies, it's pretty good.
The first Jurassic Park is a good movie. The rest of them just deliver.
Jurassic Park is not a
eating
good
people.
movie. That is a phenomenal movie.
Agreed.
It would have been better if it would have followed the book more closely, but you know, Spielberg always has to give us the, you know, he's a schmaltzy geezer at that point, so he always has to give us the, you know, the
respect the lore. You're one of them wingnuts, aren't you, Aaron?
Yeah, it's fucking.
It's fucking Jeff Goldblum giving like a 30-minute long soliloquy on an airplane would have been really fucking boring.
I don't know. It's Goldblum, so you know, you would have been somewhat invested. But like almost anybody else, sure. I mean, no, you trim that stuff down, but a lot of the big scenes that went into later movies are all kind of from that first book, like the trip down the river with the Spinosaurus. That's actually a T-Rex in the first book. There's a whole little subplot with a, you know, there's a whole little subplot with a baby Triceratops, or no, a baby Stegosaur, and then the whole airy thing with the Pteranodons in the big enclosure from the third movie. That's also in the first book.
Anything else going on with you, Aaron? What's been happening?
Yeah, just hobbling around on my busted foot.
So your foot's still broken?
Yeah, it's still messed up. It's getting a little bit better today, though. Like this morning, I'm walking around on it and I don't have any pain in it. So I think it's finally on.
Are you using a cane?
Finally turn the corner. No, I'm not using a cane. Although someone suggested that I should get some crutches, but I haven't done it.
You should do a cane. That's way more classy.
I got the big boot, so I can put the big boot on and I can look like a Spawn drawing or like a Todd McFarlane character, you know, because he always does the one big boot now.
Mm-hmm. I was hoping for one of those hoverchairs that Professor Xavier had in that cartoon there.
No, I just want one that makes me look like or I just float like MODOK because I've already got the giant head, you know, just for Halloween one year, I'm just gonna put a wraparound thing with little feet dangling down off my chin and then wear all black and just stand in the dark and be MODOK.
So some of you've been asking how many Jurassic Park books are there, and I can't remember exactly. I just remember
2.
I read Jurassic Park, which is absolutely amazing. And then when I went to read The Lost World, I was furious because it was a sequel to the movie and not the book, which was far superior.
They did. Yeah. I mean, they did the little bit of work to get it there. You know, the only thing that was really a sequel the only thing that was really a movie sequel was the fact that Malcolm was still alive, even though he died in the first book.
Pretty big difference.
Well, you know, you give the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated, and you move on.
He was eaten.
He wasn't eaten. He died of his injuries off screen. You know, off page, I guess. Yeah.
I haven't read that book since I was like 20 years old.
Yeah, he didn't get eaten. The thing that always bothered me about the first movie is that Spielberg kills Muldoon, and in the book, Muldoon's a badass. He's a drunk, but when it comes time to start killing some velociraptors, he's got rockets and he's out there blowing them up and taking them out, and he lives. He gets off the island. So does the lawyer.
The blood-sucking lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Lou gets torn apart by velociraptors in a pretty gory fashion.
Did you make it onto World Class Bullshitters this week?
I did not. I didn't even reach out. Like I was too miserable with you know, foot pain to be entertaining. So
just some tiny little crack in a tiny bone that you don't even use in your foot is just like incapacitated you.
Well, it's just my foot's swollen, and if or it was swollen, it's not swollen now. But if I have to do any walking on it whatsoever, then it just hurts like a. It's actually the worst pain that I've probably ever had, and I've had some pretty terrible pain, but it's just in the right spot to where if it gets aggravated, it just like, and then, you know, the fact that you're walking on it and you start overcompensating with your other foot and it just throws your whole body off, and then pretty soon you're like, my back hurts, my other foot hurts, you know, my calf hurts, everything's a pain.
Today,
I had a very similar conversation with my wife recently, but she was talking about her period.
Bloody hell.
Huh?
That's what we were talking about.
I thought that's what Sparrow was talking about. It's like,
you're the one who's sending me pictures of your tampon.
that was my fucking gallbladder, dude.
You know, it's like for a second I thought you turned into James Silvani, because that's one of James Silvani's go-tos. Is always to say that you're on your period.
Oh, I'm sorry I wasn't original enough. I thought it was fun. We've also got Sully, who's already 2 days deep into his St. Patty's Day
You
extravaganza.
darn tootin'.
And
Right.
what are you grateful for? Are you grateful for the hair of the dog? What are you grateful
I
for?
am grateful for having any hair, but like, I'm going to make America grateful again. Check it out. I had this hat made myself on Amazon, less than $20. It's great, huh? And it's green. I'm wearing the green. No one else is wearing green today. Oh my gosh!
It's not St.
Was this
Patrick's
Italian
Day.
aficionados or something? Oh, McKinley is.
Green's
my-
not my color. It doesn't bring out my eyes.
I got my green pens hat upstairs I can throw on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wait, you can just have hats with whatever you want on them made up on Amazon?
Yeah, it was like $18. It's stitched and everything. Yeah, and you just make your own hat.
I made up my own shirt this week. I made a design.
Dude, that was sick. I like that. It looks like
a
an
classic
old beer
beer
label.
logo.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Is that in the? Do you have a link to that in the description of the show that you can point people
Maybe
to?
it's on
Drop a link?
Teespring, but normally if you watch a video, there's advertisements, and they should be in there now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
I did update it. But
People out
I
there.
thought
in
it
the
was pretty
chat-
decent. It took me hours, so it's too long. Apparently, I'm not good at that. But I thought it
Nah,
looked
it's
good.
awesome. It looks great. And happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there. It's the St. Patrick's Day weekend coming to you from Boston, Massachusetts here, where we celebrate and we party hard here. And it's also the Ides of March today. That's so if you're a Caesar, watch your back.
Very nice. You got anything going on your channel people need to know about besides
Just-
the gratefulness?
A lot of gratitude. I do a show on every Sunday. I call it the Super Sully Sunday Stream, where I review every single comic book that I'm forced to read by Jim Warner. And also all the books that I pick up at my local comic book shop every week. And so it's a good time, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern. Come on by. I'm also on a membership drive. My goal is to smash 2,000 subscribers sometime this calendar year. I cannot do it without you. So come on by. Everyone's welcome here.
And you were going out there and arguing with the Ultimate supporters.
Dude, that was fun. They're really touchy.
Well, of course they are.
Man, they came out of the woodwork for me, for Jim, and for Wes this week. I mean, dude, Wes, your video on Ultimates 10, it's still getting comments. I think it ended up on a Reddit somewhere. And that's what garnered the attention of the low testosterone Temu knockoff soy Snyder bros that we call campers.
Little did they know that I was having surgery when that video came out, and I didn't see any of the comments.
You came back.
Little do they know that all of their impotent rage in the comments absolutely helps the video.
Yeah,
that's all engagement. And then YouTube, whether you're mad or you're happy with what Wes had to say, if you're raging in the comments or you're complimenting him in the comments, it's all the same to the algorithm. It goes,
keep it
hey,
coming.
this is getting a lot of traction. Let's recommend it more.
God, Ultimate's number 10, huh? I mean, I haven't
It's
seen.
weird that there's a comic book out there that you can't criticize.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And it proves the point too. I haven't seen this many white people all confused and triggered since the finale of Lost. So this has been a wonderful experience watching this. So you don't like punching Nazis. It's like, motherfucker, you've been using that as a code since 2016. I'm supposed to take you seriously now?
Well, it's like, it's because we know that to you at the intellectual kiddies table, you think that Nazi means anybody who isn't Marxist. Let me tell you something about Karl Marx. He did exactly two things in his life that were of value. Well, one not so much of value, but he basically made a manifesto that became the litmus test to see if people are jealous and lazy. Because if you agree with the Communist Manifesto, that's exactly what you are. And then he died. So those are the only two things that he did in life that added anything.
Hold on. He burned through 2 inheritances, and he rented furnished apartments and sold the furniture. So he did things.
He liked money.
Yeah, he never had an actual job.
To earn it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Well, Doc, you're there. What's going on with Doc? Are you doing all right?
I am all right at the moment. I'm eventually going to need back surgery, but that's just because old. No, I'm doing well. It's Saturday. I'm here. I've been buying way too many fucking toys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Aaron.
Aaron ruined you for life.
I'm a terrible influence.
He really is. He really, really is. I bought a Marvel Legends Ghost Rider, and I actually paid almost retail for it. I mean, fuck me. No. Yeah. So I'm here. It's Saturday, and I think we should get to the topics.
Well, we got to talk to the peoples first because Callum's got some stuff on his mind. Good news. Max Space Marine 3 is in development, and the Invincible finale was awesome. That was a tense final battle.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Invincible. So go ahead, Max.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No,
Doc.
go.
I was just gonna say I didn't get a chance to watch Invincible, but Space Marine 3, I mean, there are wins for the Warhammer universe, and the Space Marine franchise of the video game has just been like taking people by storm, and it's awesome to see that the developers take a lot of pride in it, that they want to produce a product that actually provides entertainment, that's accurate to the lore, that's fun as hell, and that really showcases like how cool the Warhammer universe can be if it's done right. And it's just, I don't know, it's masculine as hell, so I love it. So great news to hear that Space Marine 3 is in development, and rightfully so, because Space Marine 2 is a work of art. So yeah.
Space Marine 2
So it's
was
a video
so
game?
much fun. Yes, it's
Yeah.
a lot of fun. That's my only exposure to Warhammer is those two games and the Amazon show you were talking about earlier. And those two games are so much fun. This last one, me and a couple buddies played through the whole campaign, and it was a blast.
They
It's a
got
lot
it
of
on
fun.
PS3?
Not PS3, no. That's a few generations ago.
Dylan,
PS3
that's
was
awesome, man.
floating.
And you know, you're not the first person I've heard talk about Space Marine in that way, where they're like, I don't really understand Warhammer, I don't get it, but I play the games and they're awesome. And I think to me that's great, because for maybe normies or people who are more mainstream getting into Warhammer, I think it's a great like kind of starting point. But does it? I mean, let me ask you: does it interest you in like getting more into it, like by playing the video games at all, or?
So yes, but the thing is, I have a diehard Warhammer fan in my Discord, and I'll ask him like, "What should I do?" And then he like just gives the most complex answer to how to get into Warhammer. I was like, "Are there any comics I can read?" He's like, "Yes, but they're
It's like asking
$40,000
Doc when you should
if you
read
want to."
Yes.
He's like,
Yeah.
"You got to pirate the comics if you want to read the comics because they're so expensive now." I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
He's like, "Also, you don't want to start there. You want to start here at like the 50th edition of this." And blah blah. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a little much." So.
It is
Yeah.
always funny because Warhammer fans can be autistically detailed, and I love them for that because they love their lore, right? But it does get overwhelming, and I think that you have to kind of break it down to say, all right, so there are a couple different timelines, but if you want to just start somewhere, just try this one book, right? Like try here or like try this thing and just get into it, right? But I think because there is so much, a lot of Warhammer fans get excited, and so they'll just be like, okay, these are the 30 books that you have to start out with, but this one is actually a different timeline that brings into this one, and this one is $10,000, so you should probably do. And it's like, okay, start small,
Yeah.
and then we build on it. So it takes patience, but I think, just like I said, I think Warhammer fans get really excited, rightfully so. They like sharing the things that they love.
And he says, I also wish every female character was like Adam Eve, beautiful, feminine, likable, protective, likes boys, and not a fat, condescending gay girl.
Wow.
Who's Adam Eve? Is that from Invincible?
That's Invincible.
Yeah.
Adam Eve is actually kind of a very traditional female superhero character. She's attractive, she's powerful, she's able to protect herself, and she's very protective of the people that she cares about. But also, she's just not quite, she's not on Mark's level, like, in a fight.
Yeah.
But she'll still do everything she can.
Oh, you love that. The chick pulls out the baseball bat to back you up.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're in love. Calb says a video from Cloudfish about this Q&A with Brevoort on Substack, and it proves the guy hates money and wants to drag it all down with him. I've not seen the Q&A on no, I know what you're talking about. Okay, because Doc and I literally just recorded a video about this.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, it's not really a Q&A on Substack, but I guess it is, isn't it? It's just not.
Yeah,
live.
it's
I was
his
thinking
mailbag.
Ask me anything. It's his little mailbag thing. Yeah, but yeah, he's an idiot.
Oh, yes. He's also bitter. You know, it's like he's bitter. He's unhappy. You know, we all know this. He's expressed it more than one time. He didn't want to do the X-Men. You know, he came out when you come out and you say, I've never had an affinity for the X-Men and I didn't want to do it. And the publisher said, hey, here's a challenge for you, which basically is a nice way of saying, look, this is the last thing we have for you. It's this or, you know,
the unemployment.
Good luck in your future endeavors, you know, which is basically what happened. And so Tom Brevoort had no choice but to take on the X-Men. So he's stomping his feet like a petulant child and not doing a good job because he hasn't been interested in doing a good job in a long time because he's just not interested in his life anymore. Oh. And it's like, if you don't enjoy making comics, get the hell out of comics. Go find something that makes you happy.
Yeah.
But he's been in it too long. He's not qualified to do anything else. And he's risen to a level that he could never rise anywhere else. So he's not going to go make that pay anywhere else.
Right. And
so
like he's fans and I mean,
he's stuck and we're stuck with him.
Yeah. Until he retires. He's a bitter, I mean, everything about that Human Bucky's logo is a bitter man. Remember, this is the same guy that like lost his fucking mind because his son was a Trump supporter.
Yeah, like vilified his son online.
Like
his own son.
Yeah. So he's a bitter little fucking human gerbil. And he's probably very unhappy with where his life is. We just have to suffer for him. He's what, like 61, maybe 60. He looks like he's 73. And we have to suffer with him until Social Security kicks in.
Remember that documentary that they did on Disney Plus that just showed how Dan Slott doesn't do his work and just stays on Twitter all day, and like it was supposed to be like a peek behind the curtain, but it just made everybody look bad. Like when he would go into the Marvel office, do you remember how sallow and like depressed and sickly everybody in the Marvel office looked? And I was like, is it the lighting in the office or like what's going on? But then I just started to realize like, no, they are just also sallow and sickly and unhappy.
Calb says, I heard the ratings for Daredevil aren't good.
Yeah, it got like 7.5 million viewers for like the first 2 episodes, I want to say. Yeah.
It's on par with Agatha all along. And this is part and parcel of making your streaming service for wine moms. Well, when you actually put on a show that should appeal to men, there just aren't enough there on the platform to watch it.
Yeah, it's consistent garbage that they've been churning out. So why tune into Daredevil? Like Disney Plus does not have... Andor's like the only show that I genuinely really like from Disney Plus. Every other show I've checked out, not worth it.
They made The Acolyte look popular.
Well, they don't have a lot of new stuff ever.
Well, it's that as well as the fact that, look, they've run off their audience over the last few years. They've run off a significant portion of what would have historically been their target audience. Even if there was spectacular word of mouth, we've just all sat home for the last couple of things and not even turned on the last couple of streaming shows. We're literally watching anything else. The audience that they had curated through the first 3 phases of comics or of the movies, and that they had on the launch titles for the MCU TV stuff, they pushed them all away. And now, even if it had phenomenal word of mouth, it's going to take months for those people to even hear about it to go check it out.
I just want to say, Buttface McBooby, you have a fantastic avatar, sir.
Yes, you do. And a fantastic name.
Absolutely.
What came first?
Says, thank God Sully's here. The voice of reason.
Me? Awesome. The check didn't bounce this week.
Sully's trying to grind off a 3-day bender. He's not in his best shape.
Oh my gosh, I'm so hungover. If you only knew about the thumping inside of my head. Oh,
Exactly.
geez, I shouldn't. Wow.
Drinking too much of that green water.
Indeed.
Callum says J. Scott Campbell's getting heat again for his Marvel Rivals covers, which just proves that these alphabet people are envious, boring, and miserable. I thought
Why is
everyone
he
liked
getting
the
heat?
covers.
Yeah, I thought they were all thrilled with
confused.
those characters.
No, they're not. They're still very, very mad that
Where did this
like,
happen? I haven't seen it.
Well, the Twitter weirdos have been really mad about Marvel Rivals because the female characters look feminine, and J. Scott Campbell does feminine characters, so they're double mad that
I thought they left Twitter and went to Bluesky. Like, does anybody even see this?
Yeah, but then they got no attention on Bluesky, so
Yeah.
they came back to Twitter. That lasted all of 5 minutes.
pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of the comic industry is still over there, shouting into
I
the
hope
void
so.
of Bluesky.
Perfect.
That's why like things on Twitter have been pretty calm as far as comics go, because all the weirdos are over on Bluesky just.
I wouldn't say calm.
Blading
If
each
you're
other.
following
No,
like the indie scene, there's a bunch of weird shit going on.
Oh well,
I'm not
if you
fully
follow
aware
the crowdfunding scene, there's always
That's what I'm talking
I,
about.
I
There's
just
always something going on there. Yeah.
I just pulled up a tweet of the with the J. Scott Campbell covers, and I just want to read 2 tweets from it. One says, "Sexy, Campbell's drawings are the best," and then the next one is, "I hate his style so much. Why does he always have to sexualize the women so much?" So
Mhm.
Yeah.
dichotomy of man right there.
There you go.
Well, the dichotomy of man and they them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
My goodness.
The dichotomy of man and ma'am.
The whole Jungian thing, sir.
Someone just needs to tell the guy you're not going to get laid for that stupid ass comment.
Yeah.
No girl's going to want to sleep with you for acting.
By
like
the
you're
way,
some
the
savior.
hot girls are all in J. Scott Campbell's lines at conventions
Yes.
buying his covers.
Yeah. Federico de la Casa. Hi, guys. Next week, new Comic-Con and new projects to show. Meanwhile, I fear Imperial could be good, but I have bad MCU vibes with his Wolverine. That was lame. Wolverine
his
Revenge was
sucks so
lame.
bad.
Terrible.
Well, you
Are you
didn't
excited
like
for
the.
Imperial?
I am not. Then again, I'm never really all that
You
excited
like the
for
Shi'ar
Jonathan.
Empire.
Yeah, but I'm never really that excited for Jonathan Hickman.
I think Imperial looks awful.
It's short though, is one thing that I think
4
plays to
issues.
Hickman's strengths. Because I feel like Hickman, if he goes past a certain amount of issues, it just goes downhill. But if you keep him short, that's the one thing that gives me optimistic about it. Is that I feel
Gods
like,
was shit, and that was only like 3 issues.
Well, it was
Yeah,
an
fair enough,
ongoing
but-
talk.
Oh yeah, it was an ongoing that got canceled.
to where
But
this
Aliens
team
versus
portion
Adventures
is
is pretty
better.
fucking awesome. Anybody else reading that one?
Yeah.
It got better with each issue. Yeah, I agree.
Some
so
horrifying
weird.
faces in it, but yeah, it's really good.
Oh yeah, but that Ribic art is
You
pretty
get
spot on.
jump scared from
From
page.
Captain Marvel's face?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll see what happens with Imperial. I'll definitely check it out. I still have enough confidence in Hickman as a creator. Shagron 2. So show out for Comics Aficionados contributor Yule Carter. Fantastic Comics are having a sale on back issues next week. If you're in California, you should go
nice.
check it out.
All right.
Shout out to Yule.
I need to
Absolutely.
hit up Yule.
You should see if you can call
some
dibs
back
on some of these sales.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
got some good. Yeah, I've shopped with him like 5 times in the past 2 years. He's the aces, man.
Oh yeah, Yule's the best. He's
He's
off of
looking-
Twitter. I can't get a hold of him anymore.
I
I
know,
gotta find
huh?
an email for him.
It's kind of depressing. I'm like, I just want to I miss him on this show. I really do.
Yeah, I would love to get him back. We've had a lot of really cool retailer discussions or retailer or conversations that would be great for retailers to jump in on. But Sparrow,
Did
you
he-
should take your bad foot and go up to Berkeley, dude.
I should. I actually, I need to get on the horn with Yule and see what's going on. Plus, when we take Kneel Before Doomface to print, I'm supposed to go up and do a signing at Yule's store. So
Yeah.
gotta. Work
I
on that too.
volunteer. I volunteer as being your bodyguard. I'll just stay.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. That's cool. We could road trip it, Max.
Let's do it.
We can drive to the Tenderloin and make sure to have our windows up so that the hobos can't spit AIDS into our mouth.
Oh God. But yeah, no, that'd be a fun signing. That'd be interesting.
HH and the folks at Sigma Comics, greetings from Indiana Comic-Con. Big news on the way. Support the channel and keep it tuned to Thinking Critical for the latest and greatest from the best in the biz. That's very, very awesome. Thank you very much for the DMs and stuff, HH, over the surgery. I know I got some due outs to get back to you, but I've been trying to get things back together. But if you're going to be in the Indiana Comic-Con, definitely go by and check out HH and the guys at Sigma Comics. Be a lot of fun. Cannot wait to actually get to see HH in person in Dallas. It's going to be awesome. So everybody here is going to Dallas except for Doc, right?
And that's still up in the air for me.
Doc
Max is going.
You going, Max?
Max, have you booked your flight yet?
I've not booked the flight, but yes, I will be going to Dallas. So it's like
we should coordinate so we can just fly out on the same. Yeah, we can take the same flight.
That might be easy. I have like yeah. The only thing though, Aaron, is I have like miles or like something like some sort of I need to use a certain miles or money for Spirit, and I'm not really sure if I trust Spirit right now. So you may want to get your own, but I think
I'll fly Spirit with you.
Okay, all right. We'll do it on a budget this year, but then if we don't show up, it's because our plane flipped over on the way that we were like landing or something.
No, they don't even send you by plane anymore. They just strap you to a trebuchet and point you in the general direction of your destination.
Now we're talking.
It's Spirit. You're lucky if you don't end up in or part of a like brawl mid-flight.
Yes, right.
Well, we're not flying out of like Philly or LA.
No, dude, I've flown Spirit more times than I can count back from LA because they're one of the only airlines that has a nonstop to Pittsburgh.
Oh wow.
And every single time I feel like I'm taking my life into my hands.
Well, that's why it's called Spirit, because that's what you might be by the end of your life.
Yes.
Galb says, do you think it says something when they have a movie with all dinosaurs are female and yet they're so likable? Seriously, what does that say?
I don't know how to respond to that.
Life will find a way. Oh, yeah.
I was having to watch Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and they were really selling up the fact that blue is a great velociraptor.
That is a good point.
She and Pratt were in love with each other.
She's the bestest ever.
I never really understood why anybody gave a shit what the gender of the dinosaurs were in my dinosaur
because they can't
movie.
Breed.
No, I understand that part. I understand like the plot device portion of it.
I imagine they made females so they would be less aggressive than the males. You know, the bull's likely to be bigger.
No.
That's all story reason, but he's saying like there's weird. What I think Callum is saying is there's weirdos that read into that and try to make it like And I'm surprised that we haven't yet gotten to the long essays on websites about how
on dinosaur feminism.
Or how Jurassic Park is a trans allegory because they switch sex in a single sex environment because of the frog DNA, and therefore that means it's like I'm surprised we haven't gotten those thought pieces yet.
Give it time.
Very nice. MH hashtag Comics Invictus. What are you all excited about? New Batman, more Rook, Whatnot Youngblood, more Mark Miller, Battle Beast, Absolute Ultimate Universe getting worse. Any event, Skybound Doomface? All right, let's go around the horn. Doc, what are you excited for?
I'm excited for Youngblood, and I'm excited for more G.I. Joe in the Energon universe. That's the only book right now getting me to the comic shop. Even Ultimate Spider-Man. I buy it when I'm there, but I don't make a special trip for Ultimate Spider-Man.
Very nice. What are you excited for, Sully?
Anything with Mark Miller's name on it. I got his Jupiter's Legacy finale number 5 this week, and I'm like, wow, that's a really good ending. He really wrapped this up. I was really happy with with Nightclub 2. Really looking forward to the next installment of Nemesis. I'm looking forward to his work with Pierre Berg, aka Narwhal, on Vatican City. So, I mean, just sign me up for anything that Mark Miller's doing. I'm looking forward to that. And anything Energon Universe. Skybound's knocking it out. Hey, I just got an email this week from Skybound. They're putting together, I'm looking forward to this, a Kickstarter compendium of the Marvel Transformers, but, you know, just like in hardcover, like the G.I. Joe ones, but they're including all the Transformer UK books. And I'm like, those are pretty wild, if you know what I'm talking about. They're the British Transformers, British Marvel had their own story, their own continuity. So it's pretty fun if you're a Transformers fan. So I'm looking forward to that too.
Soli, did you like the ending of this latest Nemesis series that Mark Miller did?
Yeah, it was so cruel. It was so on point. I mean, and it's got me looking forward to more too. Yeah, I thought it was, yeah, what happened to Rookie was he had it coming, but also it was really sad. But also, you know, Miller's great at that. He really is.
You got a problem with it, MVP?
No, so I actually had a problem with the first 2-3 issues. I was a little worried because it wasn't living up to the previous Nemesis series, like the one from, or the first and second series were, in my opinion, almost like perfect. They were amazing. And then this third one just started out just kind of slow, and you're knowing more about this sidekick, and you're like, I don't care about this guy. But Mark Miller, he pulls it off every single time and wraps this story up. And I loved the last 2 issues of the series. And it was just like, man, he knows what he's doing.
Solid landings. He's got it down. He's good.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that one, Real Comic Book Gamer? You got anything that you're super excited about?
Book of L. That's what I'm super excited about. I'm excited about pretty much anything Philip Kennedy Johnson does. But him coming back to Superman has me stoked. Especially, that was one of the only good things from Future State was what he did there. So I'm excited to see him continue that and what happens with that.
Very nice. How about you, MVP? You got anything excited about?
Loving Farrell. I think Farrell's fantastic, and I've really been enjoying that. As you guys already mentioned, the Energon stuff, Transformers continues to kick ass, and Jorge Corona actually gets better in every issue, which is pretty incredible. The thing that's I would say I love the Conan series right now. Savage Sword and Conan the Barbarian are fantastic. Probably like they're what I call like car books, whereas like you get them from the LCS and you get in your car and you open them up immediately and you start reading them, right? Those are my 2 car books. Is like the second I grab Savage Sword or Conan the Barbarian, I'm opening those bad boys up, and Jim Zub is awesome. What makes me a little kind of sad and why I don't get excited for things all that much is that I hear that Roberto De La Torre is no longer doing interiors on that book. And that was a core reason why the book was excellent. Like why it like got to levels of excellence that I've never seen before in the industry for the past like 5 years. Right. So that is kind of what makes me a little hesitant to say I'm excited for this or that, but they do have Doug Braithwaite, and he is a fantastic artist as well, just a completely different style. So if Roberto De La Torre
artist they
coming
had
back
sucked.
interiors, awful, doesn't match the Conan style or theme or vibes at all.
It's like if Conan was an Archie book.
Or a Fire and Ice book. I just kept saying, are we doing Fire and Ice and Conan right now? What is
it? Was
this?
weird.
Yeah. So,
and you don't mean the good Fire and Ice. You mean the DC Fire. Yeah.
The DC. Welcome to Smallville Fire and Ice. Yeah, nightmare that was, but which apparently they're bringing back for another. Don't ask me why. So
because the Fartacular is going to do so gangbusters that they got to capitalize on this hot Joanne Starer. They got to get on that train.
Yeah, the hype train for Joanne Starer. All 2 of them.
Sparrow. Yeah. What are you excited for?
I'm excited for more Rook. What's weird is I'm excited for Youngblood, which is strange because I've read the previous Youngbloods. So you would think that
they
would
redid the dialogue with Joe Casey. They fixed it.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful to see what and I like a good 90s throwback. So I'm interested to see what they come up with. Plus, I've always just kind of liked the look of those characters, like very toyetic. So and we have had some toys before, And now like Loose Collector's doing some of Rob's characters, so those sculpts look really good.
That's because they were Teen Titans designs.
Yeah, see, I'm into it, and and we know a couple of them were pitched at Marvel and didn't get used. So, like Cougar was a Marvel concept. Yeah, it was actually in an issue of Marvel Age as something that Rob might do, but they didn't bite on that character. Battle Beast, I'm into for the art. I read the Invincible books, but I haven't watched the show, so I don't. It's like a lot of it's faded from my memory, but the Battle Beast book looks really good, and the art looks absolutely fantastic. So that's kind of like what I'm into. And then of course I'm still into all the Skybound stuff with the Energon universe, and I'm loving all the Ghost Machine stuff. And then anything that Jeremy Adams is doing, I'm willing to check out. Conan, just like you guys. There's a lot of we got a lot of crossover in the books that we're looking forward to.
I'm definitely excited about Rook Exodus returning and Doomface.
Doomface is all. We're down to 5 inked pages to go with colors right behind, and so then it'll go to letters. So that first issue is going to be getting assembled and printed off pretty soon. So if you've not checked out Kneel Before Doomface, head over to the Kickstarter. The link's in the description, and get your order in, because we're going to be cutting off orders as soon as we are ready to go to print.
Federico De La Costa says, about Revort, I'm Gen X, proud to be a nerd, but I don't get why not be a man and take responsibility. I get why they hate Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Make your bed. Don't stand up straight. Don't be a lobster. You're not a lobster. Stand up straight. Love that stuff.
If you see a cat on the street, pet it.
Yeah.
Super simple. Yeah.
Watch it. If you're scared of strong men, well, wait till you see what weak men are capable of. That's killer. I love that one.
Yeah. By the way, Jim is going to sue Jordan Peterson because he went to pet a cat on the street. It bit him. He got rabies.
And cat scratch fever.
Yeah, cat scratch fever is an actual thing that exists.
Oh wow!
I discovered this about 3 years ago.
Very nice. Jaggerin 2 says Yule ripped Rob Liefeld for his comics about the LCS this week.
Yeah, I love Yule when he gets into stuff like that. He's like, I gotta buy 50 of these time slides to get one of your variants, Rob. No effing way. He's like, I would have 40 of these on my shelf just because to get your one variant, Rob. I love Yule's spirit. He's great.
Oh, honestly though, that has nothing to do with Rob.
Rob was promoting it, so I think he was responding to that. Yeah, but it's not a Rob decision. That's a
David Gabriel decision.
Well, yeah, because Yule was pointing out too that Rob was kind of throwing shade at the retailers and being like, I have no faith in the retailers to move my product. Therefore, I'm going to offer this on Whatnot first. And Yule's like, come on, big bite me, kind of like that thing about that. Like, you're not helping.
This isn't the 80s and 90s anymore, dude.
Yeah.
Then he says, Marvel announced or annoyed me this week. The ASM 69 had 1 in 25 variant with Black Hat next to Spider-Man Grave. It was $24.99. She was not in the book. Why Marvel?
Because F you. That's why.
$5 book.
Because those variants are just portfolio pieces.
You guys don't know that Marvel hates you? You guys haven't figured that out yet? They hate your guts. Just go read anything by Tom Brevoort or Nick Lowe. They actively hate you.
Especially with variant covers on the ratios and stuff, it's just to get you to spend money on something that is in theory collectible.
Yeah,
I don't think once you get off the A cover, a lot of that stuff has nothing to do with the contents. Although a lot of the retail exclusive variants tend to have something to do with the comic book itself.
Go over to J. Scott Campbell's.
Go over to
J. Scott Campbell's website and buy his Marvel Rivals covers. Those will actually be collectible because people actually care about J. Scott Campbell, despite the crybabies on Twitter.
Callum's the T-Rex is the best ever. Doc, there are theories that some dinosaur females were bigger than males like T-Rex. In fairness, that was my point, not Doc's.
Yeah, I don't particularly care. I mean, what I mean by that is it doesn't, other than like for plot reasons, like, all right, cool. It's a bunch of female.
All right, let's go around the horn. Let's do it real quick. Favorite dinosaur, Doc.
Raptor.
Sully.
The Diplodocus.
The Diplodocus?
Diplodocus, yeah.
MVP, who's your favorite dinosaur?
Triceratops.
Very nice. Sparrow.
Carnotaur.
Very nice. Real comic book gamer.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
It's T-Rex is the best. I can't. You guys are just trying to be difficult.
Yes.
Diplodocus is a gentle creature who was a vegetarian.
I like the iguanodon back. When they used to do the old drawings of him because he was always doing the Fonz thing. He was always like, "Hey." It was like, man, the iguanodon's a cool dinosaur. He's like, ah. He's always just telling you that you're doing all right.
Neck Trap Rat Roberto De La Toro on the Last Savage Sword with Roy Thomas was really cool.
Oh yeah. I think that'll be some of his last interior work though, but seeing it on a magazine format though, man, it's just amazing. And black and white, like his stuff is so reminiscent of the Bushima era, and that like some of the classic stories. And Wes, I know you're a big Conan guy, and I don't know. I mean, Roberto De La Torre is everything I could ask for in a Conan book. Anything that you would say about him as well that just kind of reiterates? Or
no, I put him in like top 3 with Bushima, and then how am I throwing Barry Windsor Smith? Yes.
Yeah.
Put, that's a very esteemed company. It's the best.
Yeah,
he's amazing. Evil Black Cat, also amazing. Says Eric Breen is my favorite dinosaur.
Very good. Good one.
Well done.
That's great.
Mr. DC Comics. I've been saying for years that DC is getting sabotaged. That's why they're not allowed to be better than Marvel. Who buys Warner Brothers once the Superman movie fails?
We should put out, a fundraiser. Yeah, pass the hat around. I'll put in $3.
Well,
what do you got?
They just had all those acquisitions, and those were like billion-dollar acquisitions with tons of debt in them. So really, the only company out there that's probably looking to acquire that has cash on hand to make an acquisition like that is like
Apple.
Yes, with Apple TV. Everyone else is like in the red by a lot.
No, Amazon will buy it and it'll just get worse.
I think Apple has more cash on hand, and it would make a lot more sense for them. They'd be more willing to spend that cash on something like that because they still need outside of Severance. Outside of Severance, which is just like this weird David Lynch fever dream of like middle management office workers. They don't have any shows. And they still have a service that they need to have content for.
Yeah, Koichi's right. They do have MGM, but MGM doesn't have the franchises.
And a lot of their franchises have been
diminished.
Yeah, I mean, you got Bond, but is it that over at Amazon now?
Amazon. Yeah, they just sold it for $1 billion.
Yeah. So they don't. While they have MGM doesn't have anything. That's the problem.
Yeah, they got a movie studio now. They need to make some movies. Baja Cat. I don't read Modern Spider-Man anymore because I like myself too much. But while pouring one out for everyone who still does, I heard Paul is still alive. So I'm compelled to ask why.
Because F you, that's why.
Well, the rumor is it's because he's the new Venom.
Wasn't revealed this week, I'll tell you that much. They're milking that.
I can't believe you're still reading all new Venom.
I read everything Jim sends me. It's to my shirt. I even read that Star Wars Legacy of Vader #2, and it's not just a bathroom code. Oh, geez.
Well, it's not a Vader book first. It's a Kylo Ren book.
Yay.
That sounds par for the course.
But I don't know why Paul's alive.
Well, did you see on Twitter? I was saying that like to end this stupid fridging argument that's been around forever, let's have Bullseye show up, fight Jackpot, and then to get back at Jackpot, murder Paul. Just brutally murder Paul. Everybody wins. You get a man fridged, which is a term that I don't agree with. But you get that, and you get it out of the way, and just everybody's happy.
Oh, Aaron, you're on to something there. I mean, it's the opposite of man spreading. It'd be man fridging.
That's right. We'll do some man fridging. And I mean, just kill him brutally in the most horrible, sadistic way possible.
And then
Just
bring it back to life with a Krakoan egg and do it all over again.
Yes, and then every time he shows up, it's like that.
It's Kenny,
the greatest story ever told, but with the Terminator, where he shows up and he's protecting Jesus, and he keeps shooting Judas, and Jesus brings him back to life, going, "No, there's a plan." And he shoots Judas again. He's like, stop killing Judas. Just keep killing Paul over and over and over again."
They could just turn him into the Marvel Universe Kenny from South Park.
Yeah, but they already did that in Hellions. Remember when John Pratt kept killing Empath?
Yeah. I'd be fine with them repeating this.
Just do a whole event. The death of Paul. The many deaths of Paul. And it's
the infinite
killing him in new and exciting ways every issue.
Instead of the 8 deaths of Paul, Spider-Man will be the 8 on its side for infinity. Great trade.
Tyler Golazinski. For your Venom report, no angry teenager bashing the vegan, but supposedly we find out who's wearing the suit next issue, and I guess somebody decided to have Jackpot show up for Symbiote Trumpa.
So it is definitely Paul.
So the only reason to read the book wasn't even there this week, Sully?
It was just to move the story
along. Once again, fuckface to his face.
I've noticed this with all the Marvel books I read. Marvel editorial has decided that bystanders are fair game to be killed by bad guys and to have huge casualties in the background. Like heroes no longer feel obligated to save random people in the background. And so Madame Mask is literally New Venom is allowing her by just not choosing to kill people in the background, to shoot them in the head. And it's like, geez, what a hero, huh?
Venom's not really a hero.
Is it Nick Lowe? Is Nick Lowe still the editor on Venom too?
Maybe.
Venom has done some cool stuff as an anti-hero, but do you guys wish that he's always just stayed a villain?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish that there was only one symbiote.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I don't even want Carnage at this point. There's just too many.
Yeah.
Too many.
Does Black Widow still have a symbiote? How fucking dumb was that?
And everyone gets one.
Jordan,
it doesn't make it special anymore.
To answer your question, Jordan White is the editor of All New Venom.
Yeah. So you got an insufferable fucking hipster doofus that has nothing else to do except for, hey, he relished pissing off everybody when he was the editor of X-Men and when he was the editor of Star Wars. So it makes sense that he'd do it on Venom too.
Jonathan said, if Paul is Venom, do you think the symbiote will help him get it up?
I don't know, man. Can the symbiote overcome all that veganism?
I don't know.
Is that why Venom's not eating people? See, there's a tell right there.
Is there any editor at Marvel on the Marvel side that has any balls at all? Are they all just these effeminate hipsters?
I think that if you were to go in and do a testosterone testing on the Marvel office, you'd end up with negative.
Can we do a GoFundMe and just send a bunch of shark cartilage to the break rooms of the Marvel offices, and they could just eat it and maybe get some tea back and start producing comics that actually have some grit to them.
Callum says, I forgot. I don't know if it was Nick Lowe or Tom Brevoort saying it, but somehow they're against MJ and Peter. Well, it's actually both of them, but this week it's Brevoort.
Right.
Doc and I just did a video on that one. It'll be out tomorrow.
And comparing it fairly to the absolute, you brought back Martha Wayne, and it's working over there, huh? What does this absolute Batman have to do with anything?
Tom Brevoort
Go ahead, Doc.
I was just going to say, Tom Brevoort is a massive bundle of sticks and a fucking retard. There
you go.
Doc, don't pull any punches. I really want to know how you feel about Tom Brevoort.
Do you, Aaron, or Wes still have that drawing I said of Venom biting off Paul's head in your DMs? I should.
I never delete anything. So
no, yes. I don't delete anything. I should definitely have that one still. And then Baja Cat says, "What's up?"
No, you're talking. I'm not going to interrupt the peoples.
The Baja Cat says the death of Paul will be the commercial success Marvel wanted Kamala Khan's death to be, and that they've been desperately seeking for almost a decade now.
It would be.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Doc.
No, go. No.
This whole thing with Tweedledee and Tweedledum, Jackson Lanzin and Colin Kelly trying to push Kamala Khan one last time because they're like, the death of Kamala Khan didn't work. So now we're going to rewrite her into every fantastic, legendary X-Men story we have to try and force her way into being just, talked about how great she is. And she's actually going to be the one with the Phoenix, this time. And she's going to be the one who goes to House of M, or like just all these different ridiculous schemes. But yeah, I am like, at that point, I'm almost done with Marvel at this. And I know everyone else is pretty much done with Marvel, but this is kind of the nail in the coffin for me. I don't know. Kamala Khan's such a great character. Hey, do you guys remember when she was basically Carol's brown shirt and was locking up people without due process, and then got one of her friends horribly injured?
Yes.
Remember that? Yeah, she's a great character. Good, really good moral character. We should really push her harder.
Yeah,
I bet they could do Death of Paul for 12 months though. They could pull it off.
I bet that they could kill him in every issue. No, you know what we'd end up? Hold on. I just figured it out. If they launched the Death of Paul event, you'd end up finishing it with 15 Pauls. The same way that the Death of Spider-Verse ended up with 20 more Spider-Verses.
The Paul-verse. Think about it, man. A multiverse of Paul Rabin.
The fact that you actually remember this dumb motherfucker's name.
His surname.
Well, because it's just hanging out there. And the guy is destined to the guy is destined to have a heel turn. He is a big bad just waiting to happen. He's that one breakup with MJ away from having a heel turn. I swear.
Could we bring back, once we give the shark cartilage and testosterone to the Marvel offices, could they do a Marvel or Punisher kills the Paul universe, the Paulverse, instead of Marvel kills the
Punisher, you have to have Cullen Bunn for that. Nobody wants to read that shit.
No, yeah.
You guys don't realize that by the logic of the people that attacked Wes and that came after you, Sully, by their logic, Paul is a vegan, Hitler was vegan, therefore Paul is Hitler.
Ooh.
Yep.
Well, apparently for who's the actor who posted that picture on Twitter over the weekend, which was like Trump and Elon were standing next to the car. John Cusack posted that picture, and he's like, similarities, and I'm like, oh my god, you've got to be kidding me with this.
Well, did you see all the people that went through and they found like a picture of Hitler reading a newspaper and then John Cusack reading a newspaper and posting that? Like, it's like,
you're
God, you're so grasping.
Interesting. Oh yeah,
it's so insane.
Caleb says, do you remember how Kamala was modeled after her creator? Who does what at Marvel?
She's an executive producer at Marvel Studios now, as I always predicted she would become.
She was
She's kind of hot. She's totally hot too.
She's a very attractive woman.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
She's rich.
And then she starts talking, and
yeah, weird stuff. Well, I guess we should get into this Ultimates. We were tiptoeing around it earlier, but the Ultimates 10 came out this last week, and writer Deniz Camp got out in his weird killing Hitler fetish or killing Nazi fetish. And this book just continues to get worse and worse and worse. It's not subtle at all. It's not clever storytelling. It's so freaking on the nose. It's so filled with modernity that it just makes it terrible and unfun to read. You can't criticize the book. You can't point out why it's failing, what's not good about it. And Sully, you certainly had noticed more than I did that you were out there actually engaging with all these people. What is it about this book that makes people want to defend it? I don't
because it's their avatar into this imaginary world where they can intersect these real world problems into it's up there with Orcus. Remember how on the nose Orcus was in the Fall of the House of X. By the end of it, it was just like it was all red hats and human supremacy But we have our good guy team who represents diversity and represents the marginalized communities who've been punched down on, and now we're punching back. And so at this point, we're like, Ultimates 10 comes out, and we all read it, and we're like, first of all, it's like, that doesn't sound like Captain America. You know, we all know our Captain America pretty well. I love Cap. You know, he got a big old shield back there. He's my cosplay. And I kind of believe in that Chris Evans Captain America. I don't want to kill anybody, but I don't like bullies. That's distilled Cap. So I don't think Cap relishes in killing. And this Cap obviously does, because he needs to be the voice of the activist culture. You know, and
in fairness, what if we're misreading the way that Cap is saying that now? Because we know the writer, we can pretty much assume the way that Captain America is saying it.
Correct.
But what if Cap is like just doing the thing like, all right, enough about how much everybody loves killing Nazis?
I was thinking that this morning. I reread Ultimates 10 before the show just to, I don't know, wrap my head around it a little bit more. Maybe we're taking it as seriously as the campers are. And maybe that's to our, maybe we shouldn't be taking this too seriously.
I don't think that you can really take anything that Deniz Camp writes too seriously, because it's just goofball, like you said, it's just goofball modern nonsense. It's just a bunch of modern grievances and kind of the oppression culture, the victimization culture made manifest through these iconic characters. And they are alternate versions of the characters, and so they inherently don't matter. And I think that maybe we're just like a little too insulted because we're thinking of it's more offensive to me when they do these things in the actual 616 to the characters that where they really matter than it does in like a pocket universe like the Ultimates, which in 2 years probably won't even exist.
Right.
Just be just a handful of titles limping along. As soon as Jonathan Hickman leaves Ultimate Spider-Man, I think the whole thing will just collapse like a flan in a cupboard. So it really doesn't matter. And even in a world where even the 616 doesn't matter that much anymore culturally because they've shrunk their readership so low. I can't get mad about it. I think it's funny. And I love the fact that you're out there like fighting with these, like I said, the intellectual kiddie table. Yeah. It's like Sully is like running in and just like punching a bunch of special needs children.
I'm the nice
with,
guy,
like,
too, right?
with just like very like limited capability of understanding things. They have no idea of nuance. It's because just like
it's a bludgeon just to dunk on the chuds. This isn't about storytelling to you. This isn't about superhero heroics. This is about using your platform to spread the message and to use it as, we're all chuds for not agreeing with you. I mean, firstly, we're saying that this doesn't sound like Cap, and in all fairness too, it was Human Torch that was the kill crazy one in this. And it pretty much, it was a non-lethal, raid on this castle town of the Red Skulls. And another thing too, it starts off with Hitler being set on fire by Human Torch back in World War II. And my first thought was Deniz Camp loves to rip things off. Like a couple of issues ago, he's ripping off Grant Morrison's Marvel Boy almost beat for beat. And then this one, he's ripping off Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards. And then the end of that, remember Hitler gets killed there too. And then the Red Skull thing about being there. Now you have the Punisher logo and it's red. And this is a direct ripoff of, in the late 90s, Alex Ross and Jim Krueger did this wonderful Marvel, non-continuity series called Earth X. And it was so you had an old man, Steve Rogers, fighting a new Red Skull, but the Red Skull was in the body of a 10-year-old boy. And he has that Punisher logo in red. This has been done before. This is just
done better.
And done better too, because Cap had he had to come to terms with having to end this Red Skull who was inside of, a poor host body, of a kid. So it was a great story. If you go back and read that, that's a solid rec from me. But it's been done before,
but it hasn't been done for the people that pirate their comics exclusively.
Oh, that was 30 years ago, Sully. You know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like they don't know that. They don't know the comic history, and so this all seems fresh and new to them. But Deniz Camp isn't delivering anything fresh and new, and all of his plot points are just 2016 talking points.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
to
right.
us, been around, it's old and tired. But to like this new crop of activists pirating their books on on readcomics.com or whatever the hell the site is, it's fresh and new to them, and it matches up with their ideology and their desire to actually harm people. And they can't do it because they'd either go to jail or because most of them are very weak and couldn't even get into a fist fight without getting the living tar beat out of them. So this is the fantasy that they live through, where they can enact their fantasies of violence through
This is
against Nazis, because everybody who disagrees with them is a
Nazi. This is just lefty. These are power fantasies from that side of the aisle. And how the hell is this made for a general audience of all fans? It's not. It's made for a very specific, one-sided, biased, group of people that don't really like comics or superhero books. They just want this activist crap.
It's a power fantasy, and it's also because I know a lot of people would say, "Oh, well, the Punisher is a right-wing power fantasy, or whatever." But in those in those Punisher stories, a lot of those were things that you had to think about, like, "Oh man, like, is Frank doing the right thing here?" Or there were questions that were posed where you would say, "Whose side am I on?" Right? Like, am I rooting for this guy or that guy? So you actually had the moral dilemma, right? But in this, it's just the author's poorly disguised weird fetish. It's just disgusting, and it is one-sided. There is no nuance, and there is no, maybe we see this from this point of view, or maybe Cap actually poses some different point of view that we see here. But no, it's just it's a Red Skull now this time. And I think, Aaron, you said these are talking points from 10 years ago. The biggest disservice that this comic is just I was going to say it's
boring.
Fucking boring. Yeah, it's just boring. It really is just tired tropes and boring. It's like, okay, we've done this over and over and over again. Can you think of something different? But these creators, you know what? I shouldn't even call them creators. No. These activists can't create. And this is the only thing that their poorly disguised fetish comes out on the page, when they're just, doing things under the table and thinking about this in their minds. It's a weird dilemma, but these people eat it up and they just love it. And that's the audience that Marvel has cultivated at this point.
Well, the Antifa audience.
Part of it is that the reason why they won't stop beating this dead horse is because we still keep voting for things they disagree with. and we have not, they have not successfully browbeat us into believing the things that their weird activist fetishism wants us to. So it's basically the beatings will continue until morale improves.
Well, my problem is, I go out there and I explain the things that I don't think are done well about the book. I don't think there's any subtlety to it. It's overwrought with modernity. I put out there examples. You're like, oh, you just love Nazis. You're just a Nazi sympathizer. It's like, well, you're not actually going out there and pointing out where I'm wrong or why you disagree. You just go out there and kind of start calling people names, because apparently to some people you're just not allowed to criticize something that you don't think is even done well. I think we're reading Hellhunters right now. He's fighting Nazis. I think that book is perfectly fine. Although there are a couple instances where they go a little bit over the line, and why can't I see anything is wrong with the book?
We don't have any problems with Hellhunters killing Nazis. That's a fun book.
Here, the reason why is because there's something that like sociopaths do and narcissists do, like people on that cluster B schedule. And what they do is they hide things behind. They basically shield their own inadequacy by hiding it behind some unassailable thing. And killing Nazis is kind of an unassailable, opinion. Hey, they're not exactly. There is like 9 people that like Nazis that aren't currently part of the U.S. prison system, and none of those people care about fucking comic books. So you're not actually fighting against anybody. but because you have an unassailable opinion of, hey, these historical bad guys are still historically bad.
Right.
It's a shield for every other inadequacy in your execution, in your storytelling, in your pacing, in everything else. Because it doesn't matter what any of those criticisms are, they could just shift the argument back to, well, you just like Nazis then. No, that has nothing to do
that's
with
equivocation. And then that's just,
but it also doesn't even make sense for the story that they're telling in the setting that they have. The maker technically didn't change anything until like 1962. The Nazis were already defeated.
Yeah.
Why are there Nazis now? You're not supposed to be. The history didn't change until after that was already wiped out. Correct?
Well, if you've got a comic book universe and you've got Hydra and you've got these secret, like Nazi infiltration, through these different avenues, the comic book universe, that's fine. And I would submit that maybe some of these ideas would not bother us if they were coming from, say, a Garth Ennis or a Mark Miller, or somebody who could actually write them with some nuance and some subtlety and some depth and actually, make these concepts interesting. The problem is that you're getting them from Deniz Camp, who is obviously an individual who does no self-reflection, never questions the motives of the characters he's writing, is writing from his own perspective all the time through every character. There's no character that comes in with a different perspective or a more nuanced perspective. It's just every character on the Ultimates agrees with every other character on the Ultimates, because every character on the Ultimates is Deniz Camp.
Yes,
that's a good way.
Yeah, but Hawkeye's out there committing acts of terrorism, and Captain America's kind of okay with it. It doesn't make sense.
Because Deniz Camp supports acts of terrorism because he wishes he could go out and do that. It's his own fantasy wish fulfillment.
He's cleaned up his Twitter timeline. He really has. He took off the flags and he took off some of his most incendiary stuff. But if you've been peeking in on his ex Twitter, you know where he stands on the Middle East. And that's as far as I want to take it there.
This guy still wears a mask. He's propagandized, and he has just drank every little glass of Kool-Aid that's been put in front of him. There's no examination of anything. There's no critical thinking. There's just none of it. It's just he is a receiver, and there's a lot of people out there that are just receivers. They have a lot of received opinions that they've been psyoped and they've bought in completely. And it's just way easier to brainwash people than it is to convince them that they've been brainwashed and have them do any kind of critical self-examination.
Because Camp and people like him don't use comics to tell stories. It's a vessel to fight fascism and get your word out and tell people what they need to do and what they need to think. Not what would make sense for this character. How can I tell a good story? It's we're fighting fascism. We got Hitler running this country. Because of course, Hitler would allow you to put a story about how he's evil out there. Because obviously that's how that works. And you just get a bad story as a result. It doesn't make any sense. I remember when Cap first ran into Zemo's son, and he reveals that he's Zemo's son, and he just spews all this at him. It's like, Cap, you did all this horrible things. Cap's like, I didn't mean for any of this to happen to you or your father. I'm not an unfeeling monster. And then we go from that to, I love killing Nazis. That was some of the best times ever of my entire life. It's like, the Zemos weren't good people. They were like the worst Nazis. And for Cap to say that to the Zemos and then this.
If you really wanted to make a book about fascism in the modern world, we literally had governments around the entire world all at the exact same time censor anyone saying anything about COVID. You were not able to have an opinion that was outside the orthodoxy, whatever you want to call it, the consensus that had been come up with. Everyone was silenced. They were forced to stay home. Some people were jailed for not complying with what they were told. They were basically fired and all that stuff. If that's not fascism, I don't know what is.
Yeah. But that would also be an admission that their weird authoritarian fantasies are the fascism that these are people that are trying to well, first of all, they've never opened a dictionary in their life. It's not that hard to go to the dictionary and read that fascism is the merger of private and public entities in order to facilitate one another's goals and do end runs around freedoms and the limitations of the other entity. But that's exactly what they've been doing, and they are not. So they have spent 5 years trying to redefine. Hell, it's longer than that. 20 years. Redefine fascism as, hey, I want less government. Oh, you're a fascist. I'm sorry. What? You fucking retards. But that would include some self-reflection and oh my God, maybe we're doing the terrible things that we are complaining about. So yeah,
there's a line in the 3rd chapter of Kneel Before Doomface where the White Knight says, "Freedom is just another word for fascism."
Yeah,
and then Iggy's like, that's not even remotely correct.
I think there's something interesting to be said about how these fans have responded, especially I think, Wes, you were talking about, like, when you pose some criticism about the book and how these characters don't act like they would, and you're posing things that are good criticism of the story or the character moments or the dialogue or whatever it may be, and you responded with, "Well, you're just a Nazi, you fascist," right? And I think that this is a case of these fans who have learned from Marvel. Because for the past decade, what have Marvel been doing to its fans? Calling us Nazis and fascists, right? So the fans have just like adopted the point of view that Marvel has taken towards the fans. And now Marvel's own fan base is now calling other fans Nazis and fascists if you don't like a certain book. And I think that comes from the top, from the editors and the publisher and the writers and the creators. And that's what I think is sad, is that this is learned behavior by the fan base, calling other fans of these projects Nazis and racists and whatever, because Marvel initially started that whole, retardation.
If you never question your beliefs, if you never examine your beliefs, and if you want to shut down any examination of your beliefs, congratulations, you're the fascist.
I don't, Dylan, can you remember any other books recently where you're just not allowed to criticize it, or you'll be browbeat and name called, or they try to put you in a submission, but I can't be submitted because I don't care.
Well, it's because they view it again as like, you're not criticizing a story, you're criticizing the movement, and their movement is righteous. It's righteous and pure. You can't criticize that, so they're right. And also, like, a lot of the criticisms, didn't even watch your video. I saw just people commenting about like just the title and just be like, he's mad that Cap's fighting Nazis. Like, if they watch the video, they'd see that's not what you're saying.
Right.
So there's a lot of that going around too. But you just can't criticize this movement.
I had a similar thing at DC when they had Batman going out there not protecting places that were basically being looted and robbed. He's like, "Oh, they have insurance. No, nothing wrong with that kind of crime." And you're not allowed to speak up and say that doesn't make sense for Batman either.
Yeah. Well, you see that with real life with people where they go like, you can steal from like Walgreens, it's all right. Don't steal from mom and pop shops though. That's bad. It's like, what? Batman wouldn't clarify between the two. Stealing's wrong. You're breaking the law. Batman's not cool with that. And people try to bring that into comics, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
You still bring harm to innocent people when you steal from Walgreens, because then they close the Walgreens down, and now grandma can't get her medication locally anymore, and now there's people that are out of jobs that are in your community, but they never think past that. They don't think past their own immediate desire and gratification, and that's the kind of narcissism that we've instilled in an entire generation. And we're reaping the consequences of that, of abandoning culture, of abandoning academia, and letting this narcissism flourish. And this is the result of it.
I mean, but in comic books, there's always such a free flow of different opinions, because you have different versions of Batman, you have different versions of Spider-Man. You have these conversations, and you're allowed to have them and have really good competing points. But it's almost like we're trying to wipe that out, like they try to do in politics. And
I think you have a lot of people that haven't been around comics for a while. Also, though, I think you have a lot of people that are newer, that are reading pirated comics, that haven't been around for a while, and they're not used to how comic book discourse goes, like how everyone's argued with someone in a comic shop about something, got into like a heated debate. And I think a lot of these people, they've never gone to a comic shop. They're used to on Twitter yelling at someone that has like a different opinion than them, but never actually had like that comic shop debate. And I think that's something completely different.
I think Punisher's a cool character, but if you wanted to tell me that you think Punisher is a villain, I can 100% see where you're coming from, and I think that's a wonderful conversation to have because it's fun and it sparks debate, you know, and you can kind of think about what the Punisher stands for and realizes, and you can rethink these things, but you're not allowed to like have conversation.
No, it's good and evil. It's not different opinions. It's good and evil is how they view it.
Yeah.
I really like the comment that Wes got for his video. Wes did a video on Ultimates 10, and he got dogpiled by all these different, like, you know, Deniz Camp fans. And this guy, Vlad the Inhaler, said, "You brain dead waste of sperm, thicker than an Eskimo sock, FFS." That was gotta be my favorite comment.
God.
My God,
thicker than an Eskimo sock. I'm gonna give it up. That good,
was pretty funny. Sorry, Wes. But yeah.
It's good stuff. But I mean, the idea.
I love Wes, but even in that, I'm like,
I love.
That's funny.
I love killing people. Killing Nazis is one of my most fondest memories. That's not cat.
No, and you know what? I did engage with these people that were giving me crap. I basically quote tweeted Gabe Hernandez's comical opinions. He got it worse than I did about Ultimates 10 last week. And so I get this one cat in my mentions, and he's trying to use Comics Hub, saying that, and then explain this, you Nazi lover, why is Ultimates always in the top 10? And I was like, well, and it was a great excuse to do a little like thinking and be like, hey, what is Comics Hub? It only represents between 125 to 300 shops out of about 3,000 shops in North America. So are these really accurate numbers? They're not. They're just, it's just some fluffy data you just want to use in your PowerPoints. That was interesting.
It is good to have those conversations that make you think, because I think as we develop ourselves and look intrinsically, we develop a worldview. And our worldview may be based off of our faith or our ideologies, or for a lot of these people, it's based off of Twitter arguments. You know, like that's their worldview. That's what they know. And they've never been challenged on that. And so, Sully, for you to do the self-reflection and go, what is my worldview here? Like, why do I believe the things that I believe? You become a more mature person. You become more emotionally mature, mentally mature. For some of us, like, you know, who have our faith, we become spiritually mature because we have to look at how we view the world and how we make decisions. And I think it's really important, instead of putting it in a comic and just saying, if you agree with me, you're a Nazi, right? That is actually not very progressive and open-minded, and that doesn't develop yourself or develop other people. It's boring. It's dumb. It's very surface level. I think, Aaron, you had put in the comments, like, Nazis are an easy villain because you don't have to explain them. Like, everyone knows pretty much what they are, and it's boring. It's a tired trope. And it just shows that, like, you know, none of these guys can think of anything more creative than just
you don't have the courage to use contemporary examples. You talk about relevancy in Ultimates number 10, and you have no balls to bring up actual oppressive regimes around the world. Why? Right. Maybe they hold your purse strings. That's my first thought.
Well, it's easy because you don't, like I said in the chat, you don't have to explain, you know, Nazis are a quick and easy villain because you don't have to put any work into explaining the villain. You show up, you're wearing a swastika. We know what your poison ideology is about. We know you're a bad guy immediately. That's why they work in Raiders of the Lost Ark and, you know, the Indiana Jones films, obviously. You know, it's why they worked in comics. You know, they would show up. And you know, a lot of these guys that worked on these comics, they actually fought in World War II. They actually fought Nazis. Yeah. Not like Deniz Camp, who's fighting imaginary Nazis in his head. I mean, he could go fight. He could go fight real wars. There's plenty of wars right now that, you know, I know you believe in because I've seen your Twitter. You could go over there right now and fight, but you're not going to do that. You're going to just engage in your little slacktivism, where you're going to write your comics and then pat yourself on the back and say, "I did a good thing. I fought fascism." You didn't do a damn thing. You just wrote some comic books. But you know, that's why Nazis are so easy in comic books, is because you don't have to put in a lot of legwork to establish the villains. We know what they're about. We know why they should be opposed. Easy. But it's been done. It's been done to death. And nobody's coming in, and certainly not Deniz Camp is not coming in with any new wrinkle on the idea. So,
this new wrinkle on the idea is that white males that feel disenfranchised are Nazis.
Right.
That
At least
was
that's
his
what
point.
Marvel.
That's not a new wrinkle on the idea, though. Marvel's been doing this for over 10 years now.
Yeah,
Ugh.
and I think that's why when people go like, "Oh, why are you so why are you so against fighting Nazis?" or "Why are you a Nazi sympathizer?" or just why are you opposed to this thing? And it's like, no, we're not opposed to that. We're just saying it's boring, it's tired, and we want something else that's more imaginative.
Yes,
I also like the argument that's like, oh, well, Cap has been punching Nazis since the 40s. And it's like, exactly. It's tired. We've seen this before.
Yeah.
So like, stop doing it. Like, yes, we get it. Nazis are bad. Like, cool. Like, we're all on board with that. But like,
and looking at Hell Hunters number 4, we have no problems with killing Nazis.
Are we at all shocked that the man who has the life lessons of nuclear testing is bad and probably don't kill people, that's these are like the deep moral teachings of some douche that still wears a mask in 2025, looks like he hasn't showered since before COVID, and spells his name spells the name Dennis with a Z.
Well, that was
You can blame his parents.
Yeah,
They were big Hardy, they were the big fans of the Hardys and the Dudley Boys with the Z. They grew up with they were parents who grew up when things were extreme.
Attitude Era.
Put a Z on the end of it. That'll be cool.
I don't know, but yeah, you're not allowed to criticize that series whatsoever. Or for some reason you get attacked. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But
that's the beauty of shielding yourself with these things, is because you become shielded for the criticism of your actual work. Because the message is what's important, not the actual work, not the actual, nuts and bolts of writing and of constructing stories and writing characters. We can ignore all that and you don't have to put in that work because, you put up that shield.
No, Mitch Ryan, you are not muted. I don't know where that came from, but let's hear for the people's Tyler Golozinski. At least we got Flash Thompson in the Venom book, but it seems they found the same type of warden watching over the symbiote as in the X-Men. And hey, look, who can stop the Spider Juggernaut for issue 70? I like Flash Thompson. I liked him as Agent Venom. He's cool. I thought they were bringing him back.
Right? He's anti-Venom now.
Yeah. Now he's like white. He's got the white suit.
Yeah. So he's like, so all new Venom number 4 opens up with the cold open, 6 pages. It's actually, it's decent because you got Flash, anti-Venom. He's talking about, to other symbiotes. Like, well, I can't even remember. There's so many symbiotes and I can't even keep track of them. But it really ended up being the best part of the book because, Flash is a reliable, cool character.
What was weird in that issue 69 with the Spider Juggernaut? I thought Juggernaut was going to turn into Spider-Man, but Spider-Man turns into Juggernaut. Kind of strange.
Were they doing a callback to the old Juggernaut run? Those 2 issues of ASM.
Mm-hmm.
That was their callback, or
something like that. 8 Deaths of Spider-Man is awful. I don't care what Sully says.
I like the art, man. It's Ed McGuinness art. It's for 8. There are 12 issues to 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. It's literally like 8 issues too long. This could have been a better story if it was concise. I mean, and so this issue wasn't that bad because it's getting to the point of the whole story. That's just my opinion, though.
Callum says the thing about Nazis and lefties is they're both exactly like, and they think the same thing and act the same. And it's cool not to be anti-Semite.
It's never cool to be an anti-Semite.
No,
but that's kind of the funny thing is the same people that are screaming at Wes in the comments, and screaming at you on Twitter, Sully. I'm sure that they've got some very pointed things to say about Israel and about the Jewish people.
Hey, what about unsolicited opinions on Israel? Who wrote that on that Girl 4 book?
Marguerite Bennett.
Yeah, why don't we bring her in? She's
doing Witchblade, which I haven't heard anybody talk about. Has anybody read the new Witchblade series?
I read the first issue. It was very, very generic to me.
I mean, that's kind of
kind of sexy.
Par for the course.
That's Marguerite Bennett's career in a nutshell.
You just go read that first page of that book she did with Daenerys.
Oh, Mother of Madness.
Yeah.
We reviewed that.
Oh no.
That was a good one. One of the worst modern comics I ever read. XR Kun, I left comics after Brand New Day and recently came back after checking out Skybound. Marvel seems to be worse than when I left, but have there been any good Spider-Man books or runs since then? So you are correct. Marvel is in a very bad spot. Some Spider-Man stuff that has happened since you left and came back, some of the more modern stuff, I would say you might like the second and third volumes of Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man, which I thought were really, really good. There's a Spider-Man life story.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Life Stories is pretty good. Does anybody else think of any really good Spider-Man stuff?
You know what? The Nick Spencer run on ASM was surprisingly good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, especially following up on Secret Empire.
Yeah.
Spider-Boy's okay.
Spider-Man's fine. It's a little uneven. It gets a little goofy, but yeah, there's been some pretty decent Spider-Man stuff. But interesting enough, you bring up Brand New Day. Doc, I have a video coming out about that with Brewborn. These guys are idiots. But you might like Ultimate Spider-Man. It's got Peter and MJ back together and married with kids. I think it's paced a little not perfect, but the art's really good for the most part. Callum says, is it more insulting to call these people boring instead of bad writers?
I mean, they are. That's really what it comes down to. Most of them are just boring. I mean, yes, you can get into the fact that they can't construct a narrative, that their pacing is terrible, that their internal consistency in the plot is completely non-existent, or any of the other critical, execution aspects of it. But at the end of the day, most of them are just fucking boring.
Yeah.
There's a reason that a lot of comic creators work for the big two and never branch out and never try to do any like crowdfunded books or things like that, is because it's safe. To promote your crowdfunded book, you kind of got to go to YouTube. You kind of got to, you got to actually interact with the fans that these people have contempt for. And they can't do it. They can't be interesting. We saw Gail Simone try to do a YouTube channel and that failed miserably, so she just went back to being on, the internet, just typing things out because she's a writer. She's not a personality. And a lot of these people aren't personalities and they don't have personalities. Now there's some very dynamic people in comic books, but they're the ones that actually have really good connections with their fans that you're excited to go and talk to when you go to a convention, and actually could do really well on YouTube if they decided to, or they go on whatnot shows and they're really, really great at it, because they have that personality and they actually are fans of the comic book medium and are excited to be a part of it. But, the people that are just kind of using it as a vehicle for, their failed screenplays that'll never get made into movies or, Netflix pitches, or the people that just want to put out their own manifestos through, characters that they didn't create. That's who you get the big two now.
Tyler Golozinski, I got Under the Red Hood vibes in Ultimates with the Bucky as Red Skull 10th edition, and Chef's Kiss to Aaron for the background art with the two characters of 2025 Doomface and Lexi.
Oh yeah, this is this right here is this is one of the this is like the classic retro cover. It's made to look like an old creepy magazine. So super excited about that. Lionel Castellani actually did this piece, so I can't take credit for it aside from the fact that I know good artists, but this is all him. Yeah, the Bucky being revealed. I think it's actually the 5th or 6th Red Skull.
Right, the 5th. And that was the best part of the book, my humble opinion, was that twist. It was decent. And I'll say something nice about the book. Really good one for Gary art. There you go. You got a compliment.
Yeah, he's not bad at all. He's doing well.
Really good art, yeah.
Where can people get that cover? Was that already available on the Kickstarter? Is that going to be on like a?
Yeah, that's still available on the late pledges. So if you want to get that cover, you can.
Very nice. Calb, I actually do have 2 ideas for dystopias called Mating Crisis. It's set in the aftermath of a downfall of feminist dystopia, and men aren't approaching women anymore because they're broken.
Actually,
there's already a book called Effing for Our Future, right?
Yeah. Effing for Our Future by Jesse Blaze Snyder is pretty much a concept like this.
I got it. That's a fun book.
It's actually pretty hilarious.
Yeah, it is.
It's not what you expect. It is kind of a satire of basically it's a satirical look at kind of like the crowdfunding model. All these guys that are out there, your Black Ops and what like that are just basically putting out pornography as comic books, just to get your money for some porno covers. It's a parody of that mindset, but it's actually a really interesting sci-fi story.
Yeah, the guys are only used for breeding and stuff. They're like cattle.
Yeah, well, it's like the women have been reproducing without men, and then that their ability to clone and things like that is dying out. Like they can't do it anymore, and so they've got to go back and they've got to find the
old-fashioned way.
Yeah, do it the old-fashioned way. But the men have evolved past it because there just haven't been, and so
you've been playing video games for decades.
It's just basically they're just big primates now. It's pretty and the women are trying to interest them, and the men just like have no interest. It's actually a really great satire.
Andrew Prodout. Is his name Paul because of Peter, Paul, and Mary?
Maybe.
I do not know, but it would maybe.
No, it's Paul because Paul Bearer because it's killed Spider-Man.
I think it's Paul because that's the name of the guy that Nick Lowe's wife's fucking.
Holy shit.
Another theory.
I love my wife's boyfriend.
Was that a Heather's riff?
Yes, thank you. Look, bottles water.
Caleb says, and the second is inspired by 28 Days Later called Rainbow. It's a virus that makes people gay. All of a sudden, they only attack straight people.
I mean, you're going to have to do that on a website. You're not going to be able to put that on a crowdfunding platform.
Yeah. It'd be funny, though. Caleb.
Yeah, don't put
how do they know who's straight? Is it a scent? Is it a,
It's the pheromones.
You just get infected by the gay.
That sounds like what Brian Michael Bendis did to Iceman.
Tyler Golozitsky, Kneel Before Doomface and Lexi Vega. And no, Aaron is paying me. And Aaron is not paying me to be a cheerleader.
I appreciate it, Tyler. I appreciate all the props on your behalf.
So what are the plans with Lexi and Doomface and Kneel Before Doomface? Is this a one and done?
No, this is a continuing.
It's already.
We didn't get to 22,000 on the campaign, which would have unlocked the second chapter for the first book, so it would have been double sized. We didn't get there, so there's a second chapter, and then I'm already writing the third chapter, and it's a continuing series. That's how it's planned. I know where it ends. It just depends how long it takes us to get there, because I keep coming up with new story ideas, and then stuff like the Ultimates keeps coming out, and I keep like jotting down like, well, got to make fun of that. Got to make fun of that.
Wow, somebody says that Callum should call it 28 Gays Later.
That's actually pretty funny.
Oh, you nailed it.
You better do that before DC does it. Their Lex in the City and all that cleverness.
Absolutely.
Fire and Ice, 28 Gays Later. I can see it now.
So is it always going to be the same artist, Aaron, or are you looking to perhaps I know Renzo's pretty in demand.
Renzo's pretty in demand, but my hope is that once people read the first Kneel Before Doomface and they're excited about it, and kind of like word gets out that it is a comic book worth supporting, I'm hoping that the campaigns will increase, and so I will be able to keep bumping up Renzo's pay and lock him up, because I don't ever want to. I like when a book is consistent. I like consistent runs. I miss when we used to have that in comics. So I would love it if Renzo just drew the complete saga. There are backups, and there will be like little spin-offs and things like that. Hopefully that that maybe we can bring in guest artists and get like some different takes. For example, Josh Howard did the 3-page Colonel Silverstreak PSA backup. There'll always be a place for guest artists on that, and then in any other spin-offs that we do. But my hope is that the main book is always Renzo and always Oscar on colors, because they are just a dream team. They are killing it. Book looks so damn good.
World at War Comics. It seems like this stuff is losing momentum in politics in Hollywood. Hopefully comics is next. That's the worst thing, Dylan. It feels like it's going to take them 2 years to realize what everyone else has realized, that the culture has shifted.
Comics is always behind on everything, so who knows how long it'll take for them to realize, but eventually maybe they'll get there. But it's going to take forever to get these people ousted, because they'll never change.
Yeah, they're
Do you think-
entrenched like ticks.
Yep.
Do you think that they are pushing back even harder? Now, I know that like a lot of these books have been written maybe even years prior to when we're getting them, right? Because of just the process of making a book. But do you think that they're pushing back harder now because of the current political climate, and so they're just going to double down on all this stuff?
I can tell you right now, I was reading Ultimates at the beginning, and it wasn't a very good book, but it was at least fun. It's not fun anymore, and it appears that Deniz Camp is losing his fucking mind.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I gave up at issue 2. That whole critique on capitalism issue, I was like, okay.
Oh, Midas?
That was so bad. That was
You missed
awful.
issue 3 with Gamma Island. That was the cherry
I
on top.
haven't read a single issue of Ultimate since 2.
You
I was like,
realize
first issue's okay, and then 2 was dog shit, so I'm out.
You realize Deniz Camp losing his mind would require him to have first had a mind to lose. The guy's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, but I do think it's getting more hysterical.
Well, that's because he's a tantrum throwing little girl.
Yeah, but I think it is what he was kind of saying, like maybe doubling down, like pushing harder.
Oh yeah,
it's what it feels like. But it could be wrong, I guess. We'll see what happens in the Absolute universe. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. It's better done, even in like an Absolute Superman than the Ultimates, in my opinion. But the Absolute Superman's not a good book either. Did you read it this week, Dylan?
Nope, I stopped after issue 2 on that as well. I read the first 2 issues. Like,
see, I admire this. I admire that Dylan is like one of those people that's like, nope, no, don't need to waste my time or my money on that. It's out.
He's learned the lesson that I said I learned from Lost. Don't stick around once you can see it's not going to be good anymore.
Yeah, I like reading good comics. The last like Bendis' Superman was where like I stuck through like I don't know 18 issues or something, and then I'm like, after this, never again. I'm never doing this again. I'm only reading good comics. If a comic tells me it's bad, because they're pretty honest about it when you read it, I'm done. I'm out. I'm noping out. There's no reason for me to waste my time on this. There are plenty of good comics that you can spend your time reading. Just do that, and that's what I choose to do instead of wasting my time on this crap.
I prefer to just relentlessly bully the creators.
Well, whatever, Doc. You pushed through and read bad X-Men for a decade.
Yeah, I did. After well, I don't know, it wasn't full decade. Once Bendis came on, yeah, that was bad X-Men.
Did it continue through the Colors era?
Yeah.
Did you get a reprieve in House of 10? And yeah. What's that? I thought it was like
well, he was on one of the books, I think.
Oh, I thought it was Andreyko was on blue and Guggenheim was on gold. And then eventually Tom Taylor was on red.
Yeah, red was way later.
But that came later.
Yeah.
So, right. There you go. Be more like Dylan. Be less like Doc. Don't push through a bad book.
It used to be in comics. It used to be in comics that you could push through a bad run and keep your run intact, and then there'd be another creative team behind it that would revitalize it. But there's none of that anymore. It's just diminishing returns each time. We were like, oh, from the ashes. I was out, but there were people that were like, oh, good. X-Men returned to form, and then we saw the creative teams announced, and we were like, and then we saw the first couple books come out, and we were like, oh, and now it's worse than Krakoa.
Rate That 7 says, I think people are defending the book from those people who are sending death threats to Camp and his wife. They're lumping people with who have legitimate criticism with those sending threats. I didn't realize people are sending threats to Deniz Camp and his wife. If you are, that's disgusting behavior.
Yeah. Have we seen any of those threats, though? Because a lot of these people like to make up.
I was unaware of that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and it would not shock me for somebody like Deniz Camp to say that, will you please just go away is a death threat.
Yeah, but have we even seen anything about death threats?
No,
I haven't
heard shit about it.
If he was claiming that would happen, there would be an article on Bleeding Cool minimum, and likely another article on The Beat, which I check those out essentially every day or every other day.
Yeah, I mean,
he was coming out of a subway and he was surrounded by by Nazis in MAGA hats who said, "This is MAGA."
By Nigerian Nazis.
MAGA country.
I'm not saying that it didn't happen. It very well. Yes. I mean, there's lots of.
And if it did happen, that's disgusting behavior, and I certainly don't condone or approve it at all. I think it's awful. You should be threatened.
There's a lot of lunatics on the internet. You know,
Yeah,
I get death
exactly.
threats. I get death threats every now and then, and I just ignore them. I don't publicize them because I just don't give those people air. You know, for the most part, it is just a bunch of disaffected losers in their basements that aren't ever going to do anything. They just, you know, they're raging impotently, and that's why they like these books, is because they get to live out their little violent power fantasies that they would never actually do in real life because they'd get their ass kicked.
The Grizz MD says Camp said it on Twitter. Okay, why? I'm not on Twitter all that much. I personally haven't seen it. I'm surprised there's not an article.
I just looked it up on Grok, like you suggested, Wes. And yeah, apparently that's true. He's been getting death threats. He has received death threats. Him and his wife.
Did he post any of them?
It doesn't appear so.
I'll put it this way. I don't believe him. I will say this very clearly. Deniz Camp, I don't fucking believe you.
Well, he said in late December 2024, he shared details on X about threats he and his wife had received, specifically tied to his work on the Ultimates. One message he highlighted was titled, "Please don't make me ill your wife with," and included a photo of his wife with a gun.
Well, that is absolutely disgusting behavior. That person belongs in prison.
That's not really cool. Yeah.
Perch, I think, actually made a really good video about this topic and how a lot of fans will be kind of lumped together in, fans were sending me death threats. And I think what a lot of us have to do is we kind of have to separate fans from people who are legitimately mentally ill, that are,
on the
psychopathic, that are on the internet. And that is one thing that we take the risk of, is when we are in a public forum like comics or YouTube or Twitter, there are weirdos everywhere, and they will send you death threats, and it shouldn't be that way, and it's unfortunate. But I've had death threats for me for putting out a Warhammer video. Like, I think it happens to a lot of people, and it's really unfortunate, and it's awful. And I feel bad for those who have received them before, but it is something that, like, I think a lot of us have to deal with, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's gross behavior, and nobody should be sending threats to anybody over a comic book. We can have disagreements. We can think something's good, think something's bad. You shouldn't be putting out their threats. And like I said, they should be in prison. They're terrible.
Yeah, and then on the other side, you've got swatting happening to people. So it's like these are sick.
That's also terrible stuff.
Yeah.
All disgusting. People need to realize we all have a lot in common. We have more in common than we have disagreements. We can't find common ground and still disagree about a comic book.
I'll be honest. I don't think I have almost anything other than the fact that I breathe oxygen in common with Deniz Camp. But I still don't think he should be hurt.
You both love comic books, don't you?
You don't breathe.
No, I don't. I don't believe
through a mask, though.
I don't believe he does love comic books. I believe he likes comics as a means of social engineering. It's just a different medium for social engineering, which is what he likes. He likes propaganda. I like entertainment.
Department Comics. I don't think of modern comic writers as writers. There are virtually no words in the books. Look at what people call the classics: Dark Phoenix, Watchmen, and Dark Knight. How much stuff's in them? There's definitely a different writing style, Doc. You used to get a lot of prose.
Yeah, and look, I don't know if I would say there's no writers, because at the same time, while you'll have certain books that are almost devoid of dialogue and text, there's others that are almost an impenetrable wall of text.
Yeah.
So they take either 2 minutes or 2 hours to read. And there doesn't seem to be hey, it takes me 15-20 minutes to read this comic book, like, well paced. That doesn't exist anymore. And I think that has a lot more to do with the fact that most of these people, I don't think they're writers, not in the sense that they don't actually have a lot of dialogue in it. I just don't think they know how to do any of the things that a writer should do, such as pacing, plot consistency, entertaining, or anything else that's typically associated with, I don't know, storytelling.
I appreciate those purple prose from Claremont where he'd tell you just how cold that mountain that they were approaching was.
Oh, I love that too.
It adds to the visceral experience. I could feel it. Like, oh,
yeah.
it's freezing.
100%.
I also kind of like that we get to hear some of the characters' inner thoughts. That was fun too. I miss a little bit of that. Hearing Wolverine talk about, in that Kitty Pryde series, like how he's training her and how he wants her to go through some of these struggles in order to really overcome a lot of this stuff, and Kitty's own internal monologue of how awful Wolverine is treating her. And so it's really cool to hear their like inner dialogue, and you get a lot more from the characters.
I like Batman thinking himself out of a problem where he's about to die.
Yeah,
that's what I loved about Jeff Loeb's Superman Batman series, especially Public Enemy. Seeing the different thoughts of Superman and Batman, two sides of the same coin, how they think about things. Amazing. I love that. Anytime they're like Superman flying up in the sky and shooting heat vision, Batman being like, Superman's like a god, this is insane. And then Batman's just thinking how great Batman is. It's really cool.
I liked I liked reading how much Iceman loved Opal and wanted to have a life with her, and just how into women he was when he was dating, and just what a heterosexual guy he was.
Yeah.
I like reading that.
Darren now. Come on.
But
I will say this: if you're reading Aquaman from Jeremy Adams, new issue this week, there's lots and lots of thought bubbles. It's almost more done as like a diary, almost, because it looks like it's on paper, but it's all of his inner thoughts as he's seeing this new weird world that's kind of behind this Omega symbol. It's pretty good.
No, I like it. I like when like Max, I thought the example you used was perfect, because you get to see what's happening in the panels, and you get to see how each character is interpreting it in their mind. So while Wolverine is thinking of Kitty this way, she's thinking of him this way, and you realize that they are not in alignment in what they're thinking. And that's a great way to have characters like kind of bounce off each other and to give the reader more insight into what's going on. And I loved that about thought bubbles. I love using thought balloons.
100%.
Very nice. Federico de la Casa, these people do not like art. They use it as a means for gaining power, and that's what they really crave. Martyrdom and victimism is a tool.
It's using a media for social engineering purposes.
That's propaganda.
Yes.
It's 100%.
Yeah, I miss when it was, hey, you know what? I wrote this story, and I hope it makes you laugh. I hope it makes you cry, and maybe, just maybe, teaches you a little something about yourself.
Yeah,
I miss that. Joe. Like, no, you will agree with me. I will put my thoughts in your brain, and if you don't accept my thoughts into your brain completely, then you are a Nazi.
The thing that they used to do on the G.I. Joe cartoons at the end, where there was like the little PSA, even that was less browbeating than what we get in an actual comic book or cartoon or movie these days.
Well, it was all like, and that was too. It was like, hey, maybe, or like He-Man would come on and be like, boy, so and so sure didn't treat Stratos very well, did they? It's a good thing to treat people the way that you want to be treated. It's just like common sense kind of things. Like don't touch that electrical line that's down.
Yeah, don't whiz on the electric fence.
Yeah, the only one that was bad was Deep Six coming up from under those kids in the pond and going, there's a thunderstorm, kids. You might want to get out of the water. And you're like, oh, okay.
Where the hell did you come from?
Why were you down at the pond? This is a closed pond, Deep Six.
How long have you been down there?
Were you just waiting for kids to come by? That's kind of weird.
Look up our shorts, you weirdo. He's like, look, I just come here to meditate, all right? I just sit at the bottom and I sort through my problems. I had a lot of trouble with the wife.
Pork chop sandwiches.
Tyler Golizitsky, time travel retcon. If Spider-Man didn't make the deal with Mephisto, could Civil War go from Iron Man and Steve Rogers to do Iron Man and Spider-Man, with Peter planting the flag for heroes with families?
Oh, interesting idea.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that Civil War goes Iron Man and Cap. I think that is really where, because you're dealing with someone that understands the utility that, Iron Man being much more of a pragmatist,
right,
and not really an idealist whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But Spider-Man certainly sides with Captain America instead of Iron Man.
yes, he should have sided with Cap to begin with.
Yes, he should have.
The idea that he would have sided with Tony really at all was, I felt like, the weakest point of,
I think that they did it because they needed somebody to really give some validity to Tony and try to make the audience go, well, maybe he is right. Spider-Man agrees with it.
Well, then he changes his
everyone
mind.
was siding with Cap, so yeah.
Nobody made the Iron Man's point until Christos Gage wrote that tie-in comic where he did the meeting between the two of them, and then he had Iron Man explain his position, and he based it in Iron Man's history, and you were like, okay, I still don't agree, but I understand where Iron Man and where his team are coming from now. I see their perspective. I don't agree, but I understand. And that added a depth to the story that I don't think was there previously. So I think that, the problem with Marvel, and I know this from behind the scenes because I had a friend who was an editor, and he said, everybody was viewing it as a commentary on the Patriot Act. And so obviously Cap was on the Democrat side of being against the Patriot Act, which is funny because now the Democrat side is spy on everybody and have access to everything. But back then the Democrat position was that, no, this is government overreach. And then Iron Man was seen as like the Bush side. So all his comic creators were coming to him and going, well, I want my characters to be on Cap's side. And he was like, your characters are on Iron Man's side. That's already been decided. Editorial's already decided that. And then they were complaining. And he said, are you a writer? Then go find a reason in your character's history as to why they agree with Iron Man. Go do that. That is your job as a writer, to write the characters. We as editorial sat down, when we sat down with Mark and we went through which sides the characters would be on based on their histories. Now you need to delve into that. And he made them go and do their jobs. And I don't think there's anybody at Marvel who has that will anymore.
Civil War's still a good story. People like to start crapping on it nowadays. But it's still good. I love Captain America beating the snot out of Punisher.
Yeah.
Great moment.
After he saved Spider-Man, though. From
even if Punisher saved lives, Cap would never, ever agree with the way that he did it. Because he's crossed too many lines.
Yeah.
Very good stuff. What's up, Doc?
No, I was agreeing with you completely on that.
Yeah. Doc and I had a really good conversation before I went under my surgery about that, actually. It was a fun one. So thank you very much for that one, Tyler. Really appreciate conversation stimulators like that. I guess we'll get into the comic book recommendations and start wrapping this bad boy up. So Dylan, glad that you made it back. You had a rough go of it on the UFC. Did you find any comic books to find solace in this week?
I have several this week. This was a good week for me. I was happy
Wasn't
with
it?
this week.
Really good week.
This is a really good week. So I Batman Robin number 19. I love this series ever since PKJ took it over. It's been great. And I really like this issue. We got Batman Dark Patterns number 4. Been enjoying that. Also talking about getting to a character.
I thought that was the best issue so far.
Yeah. And I love the ending there. That was exciting. That little reveal and that like whole page there was really cool. So, I think the artist's style fits this more than Absolute Wonder Woman. I like how he draws this world. Then Aquaman number 3, Geiger number 12, Redcoat number 10, which I kind of wish Redcoat would just go to being like one-off stories instead of serialized. I've been liking these last few issues more instead of like a connected story where it's just him going on random adventures. I kind of prefer that, but Redcoat number 10 is really good. Hellhunters number 4. Hellhunters been great. And then, surprisingly, I enjoyed Nick Fury versus Fin Fang Foom. It was fun. I liked that.
I didn't read it. Did I make a mistake?
It was good. It's not like mind-blowing or anything, but it was good. I liked it.
Good. I liked it a lot.
Very nice. You got any big plans this week or things people should be looking out for?
No, just the Daredevil video I just dropped. I'm always working on stuff, so I'll have something else new this week, but I gotta brainstorm, figure out what I'm gonna make. But yeah, just dropped the Daredevil video yesterday, so go check that out.
Very nice. Obviously, there's a link in the video description. If you need to go find Dylan's channel, The Real Comic Book Gamer. Used to be The Real Mac Gamer.
Yeah, like forever ago when I first started.
When you were like 16?
I was like younger than that. I was like 14, yeah.
There you go. It's been a while.
Yeah.
You don't have a MacBook anymore?
It was never a MacBook. It was a little old Mac Mini. That was all I had. That was the family computer. That's all we had.
Very nice. I use a Mac Mini. I would definitely suggest it for people. It's a good computer if you need something that's affordable.
Yeah.
Very nice. Who else we got? MVP, are you recommending books this week?
You know, I didn't read anything from this week. I've been pulling back on the books that I've been reading every week, just because I needed some sanity in my life and some stability. So I started pulling back from because the guys and I were reading upwards of like 15 to 20 books every week, you know, preparing for the live show on Fridays. But now the Daredevil's out, we've found another way to torture ourselves. So we've been reviewing the Daredevil show. But you know what I have been reading is I never got into this for some reason. I never picked it up. It was never something I was super interested in. But I've been reading the Steve Englehart and Frank Bruner Doctor Strange series, and my God, I'm loving this first run or the first arc from that series. I read it in the Essential Edition, which is all black and white. And I just bought the single issues as well. And I'm obsessed with it now. So I'd really recommend that series this week for sure. It's just incredible. So I know it's older, but I'm obsessed now.
Absolutely. And remember, MVP got totally screwed over by YouTube. He's rebranded the channel. It's a Comic Crusader now. He needs to get the view hours up so we can get, or at least apply for monetization again. There's a link in the video description. Go and support MVP. Great guy. Loves comic books. Also loves Warhammer 40K. Veteran. A hero for our country. And definitely support the bed. He's a good guy.
Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate that. And thank you everyone in the chat and all the fans for supporting. This has been a really, really fun ride, and I want to continue doing it. So I'm excited for what the future holds. But thanks for having me on again today, Wes. Appreciate it.
Glad you could make it. We got Sparrow. Are you recommending any books?
There's actually some really good stuff out this week. I haven't read it yet, but Void Rivals is out this week, and people are telling me this issue of Void Rivals is really, really good. We've got the Green Lantern Corps #2 out. We've got Redcoat. We've got Geiger. I mean, there's a lot of really good stuff out this week to check out. I've not been able to get to the comic store yet because the foot. But I will be there tomorrow, and we'll be picking some stuff up. So those are the things that I'm excited about. I don't really have anything to recommend yet because I haven't read anything. But I will say this: I know that over on Fund My Comic, Phenomenova #2 by Von Coleman is going to be ending soon. So if you guys get a chance, go check out Phenomenova. That is a really fun book, and Von is a really good guy, really excited about comics, and really positive in the indie space. He's
is he coming over next week?
I don't know. Did you invite him?
I thought you invited him.
Maybe I did. Maybe how long ago did we decide this?
I don't remember.
I'll follow up. I'm glad that I brought it up because otherwise,
thought he was supposed to come on the show or something.
Yeah, I think that might be the date. So I'll reach out to him and we will find out. But yeah, I recommend that, and I go check out Black and White Volume 3. That's still chugging along. New pages are coming in. The book looks absolutely phenomenal. It's going to be one of the best looking books that I've ever worked on. I don't know if for those of you that don't know, I co-wrote that with Art and his wife Pamela. So really proud of that book. And then of course, I always got to throw in the plug for Kneel Before Doomface, because that book is coming together and it looks so damn good. It kills me because I get new pages in and I'm like, I want to show this off, but I can't do it because I can't show off the whole book.
Lasers, very nice.
Yeah. Yeah,
all right, Sully.
Laserium.
You've got the gratitude on the bind. Do you have any comic books for the gratitudes?
Got a bunch of funny books. It was a big week this week. I got 8 brand new comic books that were in my pull list, and one that wasn't. And I got a couple of things in the dollar bin I wanted to shove under Doc's nose too. But I'm going to start it off with the facsimile issue of Uncanny X-Men 133. It's one of Wolverine's best stories ever, and this is going on my spinner rack because I'm a huge Uncanny X-Men fan. But in the dollar bin, I ended up getting reader copies for $1. I love X-Men 200. Man, this is these are all in my wheelhouse from being a kid. This is great. I mean, I got Byrne, I got Romita Jr., I got Barry Windsor Smith. This is that's peak X-Men. But we got 3 books by Jeremy Adams this week. I got Flash Gordon #7, which is pretty good. It's a great book. Support Jeremy Adams. I got Mark Miller's Jupiter Legacy finale #5, wrapping up this huge book. I've got like almost every issue of this. I have to go back and, fill in the blanks, which is part of the fun of being a comic book fan. I got Aquaman #3 by Jeremy Adams. It's a pretty decent book. I got Green Lantern Corps #2 by Jeremy Adams and Company. This was pretty good too. This pulls in a lot of strings, a lot of familiar characters. And also, one thing I wanted to say about Aquaman, there's some really good dialogue and storytelling in this by Jeremy Adams. The big bad is like, bring me this Aquaman, put him at my feet. I mean, I'm like, dude, that's really over the top big bad. I love it. I got Absolute Superman #5. It's okay. It's actually the best in the series so far. It's a pretty strong issue. All of our questions are answered about the fate of Krypton and the survivors of that Jor-El and Lara saved from Krypton. So it's an interesting spin on things. It's the best issue so far. Hell Hunters #4, which is dispelling this notion that we hate killing Nazis or punching them. This is how it's done. This is for a general audience. This is for all of us. It's not written with a bias. Even if Philip Kennedy Johnson has a bias, which I follow him on Twitter, and he most definitely does, it's not evident here. They even say in it a few times, let's kill Nazis. And guess what? This was fun. And we have no problems with killing Nazis. We just got problems with crappy books. Pick of the week, Transformers 18, an amazing book. Jorge Corona's art, and this is great. There are two-page splash pages in here, which are great. I mean, the pacing in this book is amazing. And the last page is not to be spoiled. It's wonderful. I can even hear it. This character didn't even raise his voice. It's just like, oh my God, Daddy's home. You know what I mean?
I was off Transformers for a while because I was a little disgusted with Daniel Warren Johnson.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, because of his Twitter?
Just because multiple reasons, and Wes actually reminded me of one on the podcast. But it's like the book is so damn good, and I saw some of the Megatron Soundwave stuff, and I was like, I gotta go pick this up. I got to separate the art from the artist, and he's not gonna be on there much longer. So let me go ahead and finish off this run.
So yeah, I got a nice big stack. I think I spent about $43 at my local comic book shop this week. And remember, this is how we're gonna save comic books. We have to show up and spend our money at our local comic book shops. Get your supplies there, your boxes, your boards, your bags, and spend your money there. There, a lot of them are mom and pop shops. It's the American way, and that's how we're gonna save comics. Buy the ones you like. And that's my story.
$43, you could get a 6-inch sub at Subway with a drink.
I know, huh? And thank you, Wes, for having me on. And thanks for the best live chat on the planet.
They are definitely the best. No doubt about that. Last but not least, Doc, do you have any books you want to recommend?
Well, I got some things to recommend this week. I have not gone to a comic shop in like 2 weeks, but we will start with a toy.
Yeah.
I went to Chinese eBay, and if these are fakes, I can't see where they're
that's real. That's real. Okay, so here's what happens is the factory that makes them officially for Hasbro, that factory just reruns more of them and then dumps them onto dumps them to various sellers that then sell through the Chinese eBay. So it is 100. Technically it's a bootleg, but it is also 100% indistinguishable generally from the official release because it's made by the same people in the same factory.
Yeah, and with the same cards, with everything is exactly the same.
Yep.
So yeah, I went and got this Venom. I got a couple other ones too. I got an Iron Man one. I got a Spider-Man one. I got a symbiote Spider-Man one. So yeah, go, maybe go have some fun on Chinese eBay. Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you get shit. Then, since I'm in a little bit of a Spidey mood, we will go with the silver edition. So I guess this was technically the second print, but it all came out at the same fucking time. So I don't remember this one. Let's see. Does this one have? Nope. This is direct edition. The direct edition silver. And, you know, I just love this book. So having a 9.8 of it is always really nice. Then we will go with something a little bit more fun. Uncanny 282, first appearance of Bishop. See, back when Bishop was fucking jacked. And, you know, people drew characters that were fucking jacked. Then, since, you know, you could read X-Manhunt on Gray Malkin, whatever raid thing that they're doing right now, or you could just go read when Joe Kelly and Steve Siegel did it better. Also, you can go read before Joss Whedon stole this exact same idea for Danger, when it was the sentient Cerebro running around with fake X-Men. So, and then we will go with, you know, I just love these old X-Men annuals.
Oh my god, so good.
The Art T-Bear art, or I'm sorry,
Art
the Adams art. I mean, you wait a fucking year, but seriously, this is what made the High Evolutionary cool for me.
Yeah, and like, Terminus.
Exactly. So the Evolutionary War, it was the annual event that year, because they used to do events across the annuals. And now they didn't sell as well as, you know, events now. But hey, look, you got these dope artists and everybody was kind of participating. I don't remember what part this is, but they are all kind of standalone towards like the main story. So, yep. So there we go. Those are my suggestions for this week.
Nice.
Very, very nice. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend as we're all healing up. Definitely keep Jim in your thoughts and prayers. Definitely appreciate all the good vibes and thoughts and prayers you sent my way as I was having surgery. And definitely keep Peter David in your thoughts and prayers as well. If you can, reach out and see if you can support him on he's got a GoFundMe, I believe. But you guys should be able to find it out, find it pretty easily. And definitely, if you can help, do help. And have a great weekend. And we're getting ramped up for the big basketball tournament. Should start next weekend. That'll be great.
Hockey playoffs.